Hi, welcome to my channel. The full version of the audiobook is available on my Patreon. You can quickly find it through the link in my profile description. Thank you for your support.
Chapter 1 Transmigration into a Fish Live Pure. In the bathroom, the boy propped his hands on the sink, looking at himself in the mirror. Whenever I look at myself in the mirror, I still feel unbelievable. Yuzu, pure. That's right, he crossed over to Wozumi Jun in Slam Dunk. The second best center in Kanagawa Prefecture, a tragic role. He quietly recalled the remaining anger of the original owner, it was so strong and unwilling. Why do they keep saying I'm nothing but my height? Why do I always get lost in games and let my coaches and teammates down? Why am I so useless? In the middle school competition, due to being too nervous, Yuzu was completely lost in the game, not only did not bring help to the team, but became a burden on the contrary, which eventually led to the team's defeat. After the game, he was even criticized by his teammates. Yuzu in this period was relatively cowardly. He didn't argue with his teammates, and finally endured it silently, but strong anger and unwillingness always filled his heart. Yuzu didn't feel relieved, and went through a period of depression, and fell asleep in a drowsy state last night. At the moment of waking up, this body has been received by another strange soul. This strange soul was originally a frail and sickly physical education teacher. After learning the news that the Slam Dunk national competition film was about to be released in the fall, he was too excited and accidentally spilled water on the keyboard. When he regained consciousness, he found that he had time traveled and became Wozumi Jun, who had just graduated from junior high school. Traveling through time, if you become Mitsui Hisashi, Roko Akid, Sendo Akira, or Fujima, that's all. How can you wear it on Tai Hanin, Wozumi? It must be a lie for Yuzu to say that he has no complaints. The above four-player game is elegant and the key is handsome. I don't know if they are strong or not, but being handsome is a matter of a lifetime, the key is that they are strong and handsome. Fortunately, the 16-year-old Yuzu looks more handsome, not as rough as 2 years later. Forget it, since the reality can no longer be changed, then we can only accept it obediently. Besides, Wozumi is not bad. After all, he is one of the 4 major centers in Kanagawa. If you work hard, you might not be able to surpass Akaji and become the number 1 center in Kanagawa. Yuzu had no choice but to accept the reality. In retrospect, Yuzu is not useless. For the sport of basketball, height can be said to be the most important talent. Although Yuzumi is not as good as Akaji, you have to know that Akaji has been in touch with basketball since elementary school. As for Yuzumi, he has been playing basketball for less than 2 months. In the original book, Wozumi's progress was obviously faster than Akaji's. Wozumi was completely crushed by Akaji in the 2nd year of high school. When he was in the 3rd year of high school, the gap between the two was greatly narrowed. Strong is limited. Without mobile phones and computers, we can only play football in this day and age. Yuzu sighed, it was still early March 1992, computers were very expensive, and smartphones became popular more than 10 years later. No matter how you look at it, playing football is the best choice. Like many men, he also has a basketball dream. May I ask what man doesn't like ball games? This is a movement engraved in a man's genes, and it is a man's instinct. Yuzu's talent is good, but the fly in the ointment is that he has many flaws, such as he is not flexible enough, not fast enough, the attack range is limited, and the auxiliary defense is not good enough. Even if there is a chance to enter the professional basketball world, I am afraid that it is the local league of the island country, and the NBA should not expect extravagant expectations. However, Yuzu was not disappointed. As a time traveler, there will definitely be a lot of benefits. With Yuzu's thought, a panel appeared in front of him. Honor Basketball, High School Edition. Name, Yuzu Jun. Age, 16. Height, 199 centimeters. Arm span, 207 centimeters. Weight, 86 kilograms. Physical fitness, ability/potential. 90/97, 48/65, 45/73, 55/91, 48/58. Offensive skills. 46/83, 20/68, 10:50 seconds, 38/66, 25/78, 52/91. Defensive skills. 68/92, 46/67, 82/96, 50/68, 88/99. Allocatable potential points, 20. In the third year of junior high school, Yuzumi was selected into the school basketball team because of his sudden height increase, but at that time he had no interest in basketball. He spent 3 days fishing and 2 days playing nets, so he did not have a good basketball foundation. This is why his strength is far below his potential. Judging from the panel, Yuju's talent is not low, with top potential in strength, rebounds, and blocks. Too bad this is just the high school version of the panel. When Yu lives in college or enters professional basketball, he will definitely be weakened a lot. With Yuju's current strength, it can be said that he has nothing but height. In addition to the ability to be squishy, Yuju also needs to gain weight in an appropriate amount. However, in high school, the weight of 86 kilograms is enough for him to survive inside, but if he wants to fight against opponents like Hiroshi Mori, he must gain weight. By the way, he still has a pair of big hands. Yuju's hand is very big. He didn't measure it carefully, but it must be bigger than that of Milan's little blacksmith, and he can easily grasp the basketball with one hand. How to allocate potential points. Looking at the 20 allocable potential points, Yuju rubbed his chin and began to think. After discovering the data panel, he did not find the instruction manual, nor did the so-called intelligent system appear, so he had to explore everything by himself. As for how to obtain potential points, Yuju didn't know, but judging from its name, he guessed that it might need to be honored. As for whether the honor of the county competition is useful, he doesn't know. Yuju's first thought was to allocate potential points to height and wingspan. As long as he has sufficient height and wingspan, it is undoubtedly easier to enter the professional basketball world, and even have a chance to be selected by the NBA. The current NBA is still the era when the center is king. From a historical point of view, it can last at least 10 years. It's a pity that Yuju takes it for granted, and his potential points cannot be allocated to height and wingspan. In this case, he can only settle for the next best thing. Basketball is a sport of the body. Without a good body, it is difficult to go further. Yuju made up his mind, and he decided to use all his potential points to improve his physical fitness. As long as the physical fitness is good enough, coupled with enough height and wingspan, even if the skills are poor, there is still a chance to become a member of the NBA. I hope everyone will support me a lot, and I will not be a eunuch. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Father, I want to play basketball. Immediately, Yuju began to increase his strength. As a center forward, strength is of the utmost importance. After clicking 3 times in a row, the power potential directly reached 100 points, and then couldn't be clicked anymore, reaching the upper limit. Yuju began to increase his speed again, which is also his main flaw, otherwise Yuju in the original book would not have a hard crowded style, and the auxiliary defense is not good enough. After adding 15 speed points, the speed potential reaches 80, which is definitely a very good value for a center. For the last 2 points of potential, he gave all of them flexibility, which just raised it to 60. The moment the potential points were allotted, Yuju shivered all over his body, and felt a sense of refreshment in his body, as if he had taken a major health care. When the changes stopped, some inexplicable changes seemed to have taken place in his body. Honor Basketball, High School Edition. Name, Yuzu Jun. Age, 16. Height, 199 centimeters. Arm span, 207 centimeters. Weight, 86 kilograms. Physical fitness, ability/potential. 91/100, 48/80, 52/73, 58/91, 48/60. Offensive skills. 46/85, 20/68, 10/50 seconds, 38/66, 25/78, 55/93. Defensive skills. 72/93, 46/73, 82/96, 50/68, 88/99. Allocatable potential points, 0. Hey, solo defense, co-defense, back attack and close-range shooting potential have also been improved to a certain extent. It seems that there is still a correlation between these attributes. Seeing the changes on the data panel, Yuju couldn't help but smile. This is definitely good news for him, which is equivalent to giving away a lot of potential points for nothing. In addition, it can also serve as a proficiency panel. Being able to feel your own progress all the time, this kind of visible progress, no matter who you are, will feel inspired. Ah-chun, hurry down and help. Suddenly, a deep voice sounded from downstairs. Yuju hurried downstairs, and saw a tall middle-aged man standing at the top of the stairs. His complexion is dark and reddish, and he is wearing grey work clothes with a big word, fish, printed on his back. He is Yuju's father, Yuju Rong. Although his height is not as high as Yuju Jun, he is also nearly 1.9 meters tall. In the kitchen, a middle-aged woman is choosing vegetables. She is Kudo Rina, the mother of the fish, and she is also nearly 1.8 meters tall. The genes of the parents are there, coupled with sufficient nutrition, it is no wonder that the fish can grow up to 202 centimeters. Ah-chun, help me move the goods. At this moment, Wozumi Sakai was preparing the broth, so he had to ask Wozumi to help. At the entrance of the restaurant, a small truck was parked there with the trunk open. Yuju moved his body, and before he got close, he smelled a strong fishy smell. This is a small truck for transporting fish. After counting, Yuju carried 2 baskets of seafood in one breath and moved them to the refrigerator. There were not many goods, and they were moved by the tall and burly Yuju in a few moments. Ah-chun, don't stay upstairs all the time. If you have nothing to do, help me with the ingredients. Maybe in a few years, you can become a qualified chef. Wozumi Sakai's voice sounded again. He hoped that Wozumi would inherit the craftsmanship passed down from his ancestors. It's a pity that this fish doesn't live in that fish. Yuju didn't want to be a chef, so he made up his mind. He solemnly came to Yuju Rong and shouted in a firm tone, "Father, I want to play basketball." Unlike the original Yuju, he is very interested in basketball, especially since he also has an attribute panel, so how could he let this opportunity pass? Now that he has the opportunity to step into the professional basketball world, he is naturally unwilling to give up. Therefore, he was already mentally prepared to be scolded by Yuju Rong. Wozumi Sakai obviously paused, and turned his head to stare at Wozumi. His eyes were sharp, his expression was serious, and he held a bloody kitchen knife in his right hand, which looked a little scary. Yuju plucked up his courage and looked at his father. None of them spoke, and for a while, the atmosphere in the kitchen seemed very dull. Rong. Kudo Rina wanted to say something, but Wozumi Sakai raised his hand to stop him. After being silent for a while, Yuju Rong smiled. He waved his hands pretending to be indifferent, and said, "Go, I only have delicious food in my life, but you have another one." Wozumi Sakai was smiling, but his smile seemed forced. However, the ugly words are up front. If you don't make a name for yourself, then come back and inherit the restaurant. Yuju obviously breathed a sigh of relief. He is very fortunate now that he has an enlightened father. Father, then it's settled. After agreeing, Yuzumi wanted to run to the basketball court for training. Then, Wozumi Sakai's voice sounded again, and he threw a black wallet over. Yuzu hurriedly bent down to catch the wallet. Ah-chun, do your best. If you have time, your mother and I will come to the scene to cheer for you. You can use the money to buy basketball equipment. Father, I will definitely cherish this opportunity. Yu tightly held the fishy-smelling wallet in his hand, his expression full of solemnity. Go. Wozumi Sakai waved his hand and concentrated on cooking. After leaving the restaurant, Yuzumi went to a sporting goods store, bought sneakers and basketballs, and went to the nearest outdoor basketball court. There was no one on the basketball court, and it seemed very empty. In this era of island countries, basketball is still a relatively unpopular sport. Yuju intends to practice from the basic layup. Boom boom schwa boom schwa. Fish's foundation is poor, which can be seen from his layup percentage. He's already planning to work on improving his physicality and developing his close-range shooting ability. The range of close shots is located in the 3-second zone. In addition to direct shots, layups, slam dunks, hooks and throws are also included. In his previous life, Yuju had played in the college league and was a starting insider with fairly rich skills and game experience. What he has to do now is to pick up the technology he once had, integrate it into this body, and slowly enrich his arsenal. In a short period of time, he believes that his technical and tactical level will definitely be greatly improved. But basketball is a sport of the body after all. If you want to remaster the basketball skills of your previous life, you have to practice constantly and let your body acquire muscle memory. There is no shortcut at all. On the basketball court, Yuju began to sweat profusely. Possessing the consciousness of the previous life, the progress of Yuju is very fast, and it can even be described as advancing by leaps and bounds. In the process, he found that the greater the gap between ability and potential, the faster the improvement. The weather in March is just right, but the equipment of the outdoor basketball court is not very good. Not to mention the basket is a bit skewed, the basketball stand is still very old, and it has not been taken care of for an unknown period of time. In less than half an hour, Yuju had to stop training. It's not that he doesn't want to continue, it's that the physical fitness of this body is too poor, so he has to stop and rest. The bigger the body, the faster the physical exertion, not to mention that Yuju's current physical fitness has not even reached the passing grade. He had to pant heavily, sweat almost soaking his clothes. End of this chapter. Chapter 3 Shigeru Tayanoka. After 10 minutes, Yuzumi continued training. His training is very boring. In addition to layups, hooks have become his main target. For an insider, the hook is a more conventional offensive method. As the player in Kanagawa County in the future, the hook can allow him to take advantage of a lot. Yuju was very focused on training and tried his best to enhance his strength. Basic training is very boring, especially without the supervision of a coach. Most people may not be able to persist for a few days, and their enthusiasm will fade. If you want to persevere, you often need a strong will. What Yuju lacks most is willpower, not to mention that whenever he is tired, he will open the data panel, and every little bit of progress will make him feel very excited. For a while, not only was he not bored, but he was full of motivation, as if his physical fatigue had been relieved. Unfortunately, after 2 hours of training, Yuju couldn't hold on any longer. His physical fitness is too poor and his foundation is too weak. Once he continues to train, it may lead to injury. It would be nice to train in an indoor basketball court. Yuju wiped off his hot sweat. The facilities in the indoor basketball hall are obviously better. The floor is made of wood, which is also cooler. To a certain extent, it can reduce physical exertion and improve training efficiency. Due to physical limitations, Yuju had to temporarily change his plan. He decided to train strength at home in the afternoon and run in the evening. As long as the power potential is fully transformed, he can become a bulldozer, and like O'Neal, he can easily crush most opponents with just strength. Of course, he still has to gain weight. It's also fortunate that Yuju's family runs a restaurant, and the most important thing is nutrition, otherwise, if it is like the family background of the protagonist in Slam Dunk Ryoji Ikigami, then it will really be a waste of time. For the next 10 days, Yuju will continue to train every day and never dare to slack off. His training on the basketball court is still based on short shots. As for the inside footsteps and post-up singles, it's not that he doesn't want to practice, but because he has no opponents, the training effect is half the effort. After this period of experimentation, Yuju has formulated the most suitable training plan for himself, which has also greatly improved his strength. This morning, Yuju continued to train on the basketball court. Occasionally, people would come to play here, but Yuzu was too tall and full of intimidation, no one would ask Yuzu to play with them. No way, this is too bullying. With the body of a fish, ordinary basketball fans can't hold it at all. What's the difference between this and looking for abuse? At this time, Kudo Rina brought a middle-aged man to the basketball court. He looked to be 1.7 meters tall, wearing a green shirt and looked very serious. He is the basketball coach of Lingnan High School, Taukamwachi. Madam, thank you very much for your help. You can go back and do your work first, and I will discuss it with him later. Okay, then I'll go back first. Kudo Rina did not refuse, and it is now approaching noon, which is the busiest time for restaurants. When Kudo Rina left, Tayanoka Shigeru found a seat at random and began to observe Wozumi's training. What? Seeing this, Tian Gangmao couldn't help showing a look of shock. Not long ago, he and Coach Anshi served as judges in the county junior high school competition. At that time, he immediately fell in love with the fledgling Yuju. Shigeru Tayanoka was very impressed with Wozumi, because Wozumi is the highest existence among all participating players, not one of them. Junior high school students who are nearly 2 meters tall are still barefoot, which is definitely a rare existence. The difference is that Yuju at that time had almost nothing but height. Shigeru Tiangang was amazed. The current Yuzumi was completely different from him in the junior high school competition. He was more than a level stronger, giving people a feeling of being completely reborn. The originally clumsy Yuju not only became more flexible, but also reached the standard line of speed, and his body seemed to be stronger. Most importantly, he actually developed close-range shooting ability. As for the rest, Tiangang Mochi couldn't see it for the time being. This is literally a gold mine. Tiangang Mochi's breathing suddenly became rapid, and the original depressed mood was almost swept away. As for why Tiangang Mochi was depressed, it was mainly related to Mitsui Sho. In order to get Mitsui Sho, during this time, Tayanoka Mochi visited almost every day, and even promised the core treatment, hoping to get Mitsui Sho. It's a pity that Mitsui Toshishin belongs to him. No matter what kind of promises Tayanoka Mochi made, he still made useless efforts in the end, which made him feel very regretful. Tiangang Maui had to settle for the second best, and began to recruit other good seedlings he liked. Yuju Pure is one of them. Tiangang Maui did not disturb Yuju's training, and began to think about how to persuade Yuju to join the Lingnan team. I didn't get Mitsui Sho, this time I want to get Yuzu no matter what. This wait lasted for more than half an hour, and Yuju ended the training out of breath. His physical fitness was much better than 10 days ago. Tiangang Maui hurried over and shouted, "Yuju, please wait." Yuzu subconsciously stopped, and was surprised when he found that it was Mochi Tayanoka standing in front of him. Strange, Yuju didn't volunteer to join the Lingnan team. But it's normal to think about it. Although Yuju's performance in the junior high school competition was mediocre, his height is still there, and his frame is relatively thick. If he is trained well, he may have a chance to become a top center. For basketball, height is arguably the most important talent. If it is only as high as Miyagi Ryota, the possibility of becoming a professional player is only theoretically possible. Throughout the history of the NBA, there are only a handful of players who are less than 1.7 meters tall and can play well, and all of them are physically strong and their skills are among the best. Among many coaches, Tiangang Shigichi is known for his talent. How could he let Yuzu go? Now he is almost sure that Yuzu can become a top center. Since he came here, Yuzu has been training in a rigorous manner, and one can imagine how boring it is. Tiangang Shigichi has taught many players, but he rarely meets such a patient player as Wozumi. Wozumi is tall and patient. As long as he perseveres, he has a high probability of becoming a top center in Kanagawa. In Tiangang Mao's eyes, Yuzu is completely a piece of unpolished jade that has not been polished, so how can he not see Lai Shinchi? Yuzu, let me introduce myself first. I am Mochi Tayanoka, the basketball coach of Lingnan High School. Tiangang Maui showed what he thought was the most kind smile, but it was a pity that he was used to being serious, and the smile on his face seemed very stiff. So it's Coach Tiangang, what can you do for me? Yuzumi was asking questions knowingly, and he was very clear about the purpose of Maoichi Tiangang when he came to find him. Although Lingnan High School is not yet a top 4 team, it is also an old top 8 team. Now Coach Tiangang personally invites him, which makes him feel good. However, it was Tiangang Maui who took the initiative to invite him now, and the initiative was in his hands. End of this chapter. Chapter 4 Close to Home. In fact, after becoming Yuzu, why didn't he want to join a school with a better lineup, especially Hainan and Xianyang, which have a high probability of winning the national competition? However, it is very difficult to become the starting player of these two schools in the first year of high school, let alone the core. Judging from the original work, only Mu Shini can do it in Hainan this year, and Xianyang is Fujima Kenji. Unlike Mu Shinichi and Fujima, who were already famous in junior high school, Yu's performance in junior high school was relatively poor. If he joins Hainan and Xianyang, Yuzu may have to stay on the bench for a year. Take Toru Hanagata, who is also one of the 4 major centers in Kanagawa, as an example. Fujima had already secured his starting position in the first grade, but Wagata was sitting on the bench. Even in his second grade, he still did not sit firmly. It is conceivable that the Xianyang team has fierce competition for the starting seat. Not to mention the Hainan team. When Kazuma Takasago was in the first grade, he could not even be guaranteed to enter the squad, so he could only focus most of his energy on selection and training. In the case of a small gap in strength, the coach naturally prefers senior players, because they have rich experience, are more stable, and cooperate more tacitly. After eliminating the options of Hainan and Xianyang, the only teams Yuzhu can look at are Xianbei and Lingnan. If Yuzhu joins the Shohoku team, he can form twin towers inside with Akaji. As long as Mitsui is not injured, he has the hope of winning the semifinals. But don't place too much hope on it. Whether Mitsui Hisashi will repeat the same mistakes is unknown. The key is that the other players in Xianbei are too weak, and the bench is very weak. The key is that Coach Anze is still in a state of not working hard. This kind of Xianbei is not as good as Lingnan. At least the current Lingnan is still the top 8 in the county competition. Although there are no top players, under the training of Maoichi Tayanoka, there is absolutely no shortage of high-quality role players. As for schools such as Buri, Wuyuan, Mayuradai, and Tsujitake, they were automatically excluded due to unfamiliarity. As a result, no matter how you look at it, Lingnan is the most suitable for him. Yuzhu, I want to invite you to join our Lingnan team. Tiangang Shigeru could not help but worry about gains and losses, which is related to Yuzhu's strength obviously exceeding expectations. With the strength of Yuzhu, as long as he is willing to try out, he can definitely join the top 4 teams in the county. Would a fish like this really want to join the Lingnan team? At best, the Lingnan team is at the level of the top 8 in the county. In terms of attractiveness, it is definitely not as good as the top 4 teams, let alone Hainan and Xianyang. This is why the Lingnan team wants to get excellent players, and Coach Tiangang will take the initiative. However, the coaches of other teams often come forward to invite them, and no one will dislike too many excellent players. To a certain extent, the more talents recruited, the weaker the strength of the opponents to a certain extent. Like this year's middle school MVP Mitsui Hisashi, in addition to Tayanoka Mwachi, strong teams such as Hainan and Xianyang are also invited. Coach Tiangang's nemesis, Coach Gao Tu, even came forward. After persuading Mitsui Sho to fail, he heard that the high-level coach from Hainan had gone to Aichi County and made his mind on the Aichi 2 heroes. Coach Xianyang was also not to be outdone, and also went to another county to invite a certain well-known player. Tiangang Maui also put into action, but unfortunately, the Lingnan team has never played in the national competition, and its reputation in other counties is almost zero. Most of the players from other counties have never even heard of it. He could only return to Kanagawa in desperation, and continue to work on this 3-acre land, hoping to dig out undiscovered jade. Now in front of him is a piece of rough jade, Tiangang Mwachi is very sure of this. It's just that his self-confidence has been frustrated due to the relationship between hitting a wall one after another, and it is inevitable that he lacks confidence. Coach Tiangang, there are actually a few teams that have contacted me, including the team that was in the top 8 of the county competition with Lingnan. I would like to ask, what kind of treatment can your Lingnan team give me? Yuzhu didn't lie, since he graduated from junior high school, there are indeed several teams wanting him. A big guy like Yuzhu is a favorite in the eyes of many coaches. As for why Akaji went to Xianbei, it may be for the convenience of taking care of Haruko. Judging from the original book, during the period when problem children gathered at Akaji's house to study, Akaji made it clear that his family did not subscribe to newspapers, and his parents never appeared on stage, which shows that his parents are likely to work in other places. As soon as Tiangang Mao realized that now is the key, he couldn't help taking a deep breath, and said, Yuzhu, I can give you the starting position, and I will also help you apply for scholarships and bursaries. In addition, as long as our Lingnan team or I personally have for parties, I will try my best to arrange them in your restaurant. In order to get Yuzumi, Tiangang Maui showed the greatest sincerity. The tuition fees of private schools are much higher than that of public schools, which is not a small burden for many families. When Tiangang and Anshi were watching the junior high school game of Mitsui Hisashi, Coach Anshi once said, "We, Shohoku, are public schools, and we don't plan to poach people." From this point of view, Lingnan University is a private school. Although he showed the greatest sincerity, Tiangang Mwachi was still a little uneasy. No way, Yuzhu's family is not difficult, not to mention with Yuzhu's current strength, there will definitely be many teams willing to pay such a price. Coach Tiangang, I agree to join the Lingnan team. Yuzhu smiled. The team starter can guarantee his playing time and status in the team. Grants and scholarships can reduce the burden on his parents. Daily high-intensity training will inevitably require adequate nutrition, not to mention that he still has the idea of going abroad, which requires a lot of money. As for the final condition, it seems that there is not much benefit, but as long as the performance of the Lingnan team improves, it will definitely drive the business of Yuzhu Restaurant. Great, really great. With you joining, I believe that the Lingnan team will definitely be able to make further progress this year. Tian Gangmao was slightly taken aback, and then smiled ecstatically. After the joy was over, Coach Tian Gang couldn't help but ask again, by the way, compared with other teams, which aspect of our Lingnan team attracts you the most? Every time the recruitment is successful, Tian Gang Moichi will ask this question, which can effectively increase the attractiveness to the players he likes. Yuzhu held his chin, pretended to think, and said, maybe it's close to home. Lingnan High School is the nearest high school to Yuzhu's house, only a 10-minute walk away. Yuzhu's answer was completely beyond Tian Gang Maoichi's expectations. He originally thought it would be the starting salary, or a bursary or scholarship, but in the end it turned out to be close to home. It was the first time he heard such a weird reason. Tian Gang Moichi may not know, and he will probably hear the same reason in the future, but he will probably go crazy with anger. End of this chapter. Chapter 5 Ryoji Ikigami. By the way, Coach Tian Gang, can I use our indoor basketball hall in Lingnan in advance? Yuzhu wiped off his hot sweat. There is sun on the outdoor basketball court, and the temperature is relatively high. The key point is that the sun is glaring, which can easily affect the training effect. In addition, the basket on the outdoor basketball court is crooked and the basketball stand is old, which is why Yuzhu dare not dunk. He's not afraid of tearing off the rim, what he's afraid of is tearing off the entire basketball hoop, that would be fatal, and that's not how the main character in a certain SD fandom traveled through time. If you change to an indoor basketball court with a better environment, Yuzhu can train without any scruples, and the training efficiency will definitely be greatly improved. Can. Tian Gang Shigeru showed a smile. He wished that the players would be as self-disciplined as Wazumi, so naturally he did not refuse. This is the key to the indoor basketball court. You can go in for training at any time. Remember not to lose it. Coach Tian Gang fumbled for a while, and handed a key to Yuzhu. Thank you coach. Yuzhu put the key in his pocket. After chatting for a while, Tian Gangmao couldn't wait to bid farewell to Yuzhu, and was going back to finish the admission procedures for Yuzhu. Yuzhu went home for a trip, and after filling his stomach, he brought a basketball to Lingnan High School. Lingnan University is worthy of being a private school. The indoor basketball hall is not only well equipped, the temperature is pleasant, and the floor is paved with tough wooden boards. The angle of the basket is very positive, and the basketball stand is completely fixed. Yuzhu no longer has to worry about the basketball stand being torn off by dunking. He also discovered an equipment room. Although there are not many fitness equipment, it can improve his physical fitness more efficiently. Yuzhu was delighted to see Liexin, and soon started the boring but orderly training. Since he got the proficiency panel, he can intuitively feel his progress every day. After so many days, he doesn't feel boring at all. Instead, he is full of motivation, giving people the feeling of a training freak. This afternoon, Yuzhu had a slam dunk addiction. It was also in the afternoon of this day that Tian Gang Maui completed the admission procedures for Yuzhu. As for scholarships and bursaries, they still have to wait for the approval of the school leaders, so it is not a big problem. In order to better recruit high-quality players and improve the performance of the basketball team, just like the basketball team in the NCAA, the Lingnan team has several scholarships and bursaries every year. It's just that the number of places is limited, and only players who are valued by Coach Tian Gang can get it. In addition, whether you can continue to apply in the future is closely related to the performance of the players. Tian Gang Maui observed Yuzhu for a while. He originally wanted to tutor Yuzhu in training, but he found that Yuzhu's training was very scientifically based, giving people a sense of sight that had been tried and tested, and he didn't even listen to it. The training method mentioned above. However, Coach Tian Gang has a wealth of coaching experience after all, and he more or less put forward some suggestions, which made Yuzhu gain a lot. Yuzhu, I'll bring someone to train with you in a few days. At this time of year, Tian Gang Maui will be very busy. he must recruit high-quality freshmen to strengthen the Lingnan team's lineup. Yuju is looking forward to it. If he has a partner, his progress can be further accelerated. In the days to come, except for eating and sleeping, Yuju basically spent the rest of his time in the indoor basketball hall, and he even dribbled the ball on the way to Lingnan High School. Yuju's dribbling is very lame, and the sense of the ball is not very good. He can only try to improve his dribbling ability. His training is very boring, often after an hour, he repeats the same training items. Because of the data panel, Yuju didn't feel boring at all. As long as the ability on the panel improved, he became full of motivation like a chicken blood. Soon, 5 days passed. During this period, Yuju's strength has been greatly improved. Honor Basketball, High School Edition. Name, Yuzu Jun. Age, 16. Height, 200 centimeters. Arm span, 209 centimeters. Weight, 88 kilograms. Physical fitness, ability/potential. 96/100, 65/80, 59/73, 79/91, 53/60. Offensive skills. 78/85, 32/68, 14/52, 50/66, 25/78, 65/93. Defensive skills. 75/93, 55/73, 87/96, 54/68, 90/99. Allocatable potential points, 0. In half a month, Yuju grew another centimeter taller, becoming a real 2-meter giant. At the same time, his wingspan has also increased by 2 centimeters. As for the abilities in all aspects, except for the organization, they have been more or less improved. Among them, the strength is as high as 96 points, which is probably not inferior to Wozumi and Akagi in the 3rd year of high school. But to say that the most improved is undoubtedly physical fitness, speed and close-range shooting. As for the others, many of them are improvements that come with training. For example, in assisted defense, Yuju is faster and more flexible than before, and the ability of assisted defense has naturally been improved. On this day, Tiangang Mochi came to the indoor gymnasium again. The difference was that there were 2 people behind him, one of whom was a freshman recruited by Coach Tiangang recently. He is Ryoji Ikegami. It's a pity that it's not the protagonist in that SD fanbook, otherwise I would have a chance to compete for the national championship in the 1st year. Seeing Ryoji Ikegami, Yuju couldn't help but recall the slam dunk fan that he remembered deeply. As for the other, Yuzumi didn't know him. He is about 1.9 meters tall, with a body of tendon and flesh, and looks relatively strong. At this time, Tiangang Moichi's expression was very serious. During this period, Shigeru Tayanoka worked tirelessly to visit every day, and took the initiative to invite the good seedlings he liked, such as Toru Hanakata, Kazuma Takasago, Masamu Muto, Amura Murura, Yuka Wudai, etc. were all within the scope of his invitation. Unfortunately, the results are slim. Like the original book, Shigeru Tiangang attracted Wozumi and Ryoji Ikegami. This is the 2nd-year student Toyoyo Inoue, the main power forward of our Lingnan team. Tiangang Mao first introduced the 2 sides. "Hello, senior." Wozumi hurriedly greeted him politely, and if nothing else happened, Toyoyo Inoue was the partner of Shigeru Tauka's mouth. "Wow, my junior is so tall, I'm afraid they are 2 meters long." Inoue Toyasuk showed an exaggerated expression. He compared it carefully and found that Wozumi was half a head taller than him. He seemed cheerful, not shy like Ikegami. "Inoue, I called you here today, mainly because I hope you can take the time to guide Yuju, what do you think?" This time, Tiangang Mao came to Inoue Toyoyo, firstly to test the quality of Yuju, and secondly to improve the tacit understanding between the 2. If there is no accident, the 2 will become the inside partners of the Lingnan team. "No problem, I have nothing to do at home anyway." Inoue Toyasuk showed a hearty smile, patted his thick chest, and agreed. He didn't dare to refuse Coach Tiangang's request, especially since he hadn't secured the team's starting position yet. End of this chapter. Chapter 6 3D Players. Under the arrangement of Coach Tiangang, Ikegami and Inoue began to warm up. Yuzumi observed for a while, and he found that Inoue's wrist was stiff, and his shooting touch seemed to be worse than his. If nothing else, he should be a blue-collar insider who is good at defense and rebounding. It would be great if it was a projective inside line. The 3-second zone is already crowded. If he is partnered with a projection-type insider, it can open up space for Yuju and create a better one-on-one environment. Of course, the defensive insider also has advantages, that is, he can better protect the penalty area with him. Slam Dunk does not play NBA rules, but FIBA rules. There is no such thing as a 3-second zone, and the NBA reactivated the 3-second zone in 2001, mainly to limit O'Neal. Without defense for 3 seconds, the center can stay at the basket all the time. On the other hand, Ikegami is also constantly hitting the iron, but his wrist is much softer than Inoue Toyasuk, and the arc of the basketball he throws is also very positive. As long as he can practice shooting persistently, there is a high probability that he can practice it. Ikegami started out as a defensive player with good physical fitness. If he develops one-handed shooting, he has the hope of becoming an excellent 3D player. First of all, let's test the rebound. Ikegami, you are here to shoot, do you understand? Shigeru Tiangang folded his hands, trying to test the quality of Yuzu's rebounds. For an insider, rebounding is very important. Takenori Akagi once said, "He who controls the rebounds can control the entire game." Of course, this sentence is not absolute, but as long as the team has a huge rebounding advantage, the possibility of winning will be greatly improved. Before Ikegami's shot, Wozumi and Inoue had already been stuck in the basket in advance, wanting to get a better position. Compared with Inoue Toyoyo, the card position where you lives is relatively inferior. Toyoyo Inoue has a high sense of rebounding and excellent positioning ability, which is his housekeeping. Simply put, this is a rebounding idiot. However, Wozumi has the advantages of height and wingspan, especially his strength is also higher than Inoue. In addition, Yuju's positioning ability is not bad. He played in the college league before crossing, but he has become a lot less familiar due to lack of practice for a long time. As long as he is given a period of time, he believes that he can pick up the card position technology again. What a lot of strength. Inoue Toyasuk's expression changed during the process of getting stuck. His strength is not bad, but there is a certain gap between him and Yuzu, and he can barely resist the impact of Yuzu. Inoue Toyoyo had to devote most of his energy to confrontation. At this time, Ikegami took off and shot from the horn area. Bang! The basketball hit the backboard and bounced high. The confrontation between the two became more intense, and when the basketball fell, they jumped up together. Although Toyoyo Inoue was in a better position, Wozumi grabbed the rebound first by virtue of his height and wingspan. The fish catches the basketball and throws it back on the pond. Continue. Ikegami shot again, his shooting has not yet been tempered, it is very iron. Bang! This time, the basketball hit the backboard to the left. Wozumi and Inoue hurriedly moved their feet while fighting for a favorable position under the basket. This time, Wozumi took advantage of his strength and tried not to give Inoue a chance to take off comfortably, so that he could compete for rebounds more easily. In the following time, the two continued to compete for rebounds. The two have their own strengths. Inoue has a better position and has an excellent sense of rebounding, while Wozumi has advantages in height, strength and wingspan. For a while, it was hard to tell the winner. It's just that as time passed, Yuju's positioning ability began to improve at a speed visible to the naked eye, coupled with Inoue's physical exertion, he gradually gained the upper hand. Stop, you guys rest for a while. After a quarter of an hour, Coach Tiangang's voice finally sounded. Hoo. Toyasuk Inoue bent over and supported his knees, panting heavily, the jersey on his body was already soaked in sweat, as if water could be squeezed out. Yuju's strength is too great. Every time he fights for a rebound, he has to do his best, which also exhausts his physical strength very quickly. On the other side, Wozumi was also panting heavily, but compared to Toyoyo Inoue, his condition was much better. Coach, I think we have a chance to enter the semi-finals of the county competition this year. Toyoyo Inoue looked at Wozumi with eyes full of admiration. As a sport for seniors, basketball has always been said that the insiders win the world, especially now in 1992. In this era of the NBA, if a team does not have a high-quality inside line, even if the outside line is strong, whether it can enter the playoffs is a problem, let alone a championship. Toyoyo Inoue thinks that with the insider combination of him and Yuju, they should all have an advantage except for Buri. The current Wooly is still at its peak, and its strength is not much inferior to that of Hainan and Xiangyang, and it is not as stretched as the original book. There is indeed hope for this year. Moachi Tayanoka agrees very much. This year, the Lingnan team does have a chance to hit the semi-finals, but it also depends on luck. If they are accidentally grouped with Hainan or Xiangyang during the grouping stage, they may be in trouble. As for whether he can get tickets to the national competition, there is little hope, unless Yuzu can lead the team to the national quarterfinals with a single core like Shota Sugiyama did last year. Next, you guys will play one-on-one. I want to see how good you are. Coach Tian Gang looked at Yuzu with expectant eyes. He couldn't wait to test Yuzu's offensive and defensive level, so as to determine Yuzu's position in the team. Training is one thing, actual combat is another. Some players look fierce during training, but once in actual combat, they pull their hips directly. Student, you come first. Toyoyo Inoue passed the ball to Wazuki and opened his hands to defend. Toyoyo Inoue is best at defense and rebounding, and his offense can't even stand with him. Yuzu caught the ball with both hands, and Toyoyo Inoue immediately went up to him, trying to prevent him from approaching the basket. Wozumi leaned against Toyoyo Inoue with his back and began to exert strength. Bang! The dull sound of physical collision sounded. Inoue Toyoyo only felt a tightness in his chest, and took a step back involuntarily. Obviously, Inoue's strength is not as strong as Yuzu. Seeing this scene, Coach Tian Gang couldn't help but smile. However, Inoue's defense is still very solid. Knowing that his own strength is not as good as Yuzu, Toyoyo Inoue took the initiative to lower the center of gravity, and even subtly pressed his knees against Yuzu's knees, not wanting Yuzu to exert strength comfortably. In this way, it is difficult for Yuzu to go all out. It's a pity that Yuzu was just a trial just now. Feeling Inoue's small movements, Wozumi moved his footsteps, and while quickly getting rid of Inoue's knees, he fully exerted his back. End of this chapter. Chapter 7 Sigma Step. Bang! The sound of physical collision sounded again, and Toyoyo Inoue couldn't help but groaned. His upper body leaned back obviously, his lower body loosened, and he lost his center of gravity. Bang! There was no time for Toyosuke Inoue to adjust, and the backslashed one after another. This time, Toyoyo Inoue staggered back and sat down on the ground, very embarrassed. So strong. Not far away, Qi Shangyang's eyes almost popped out. Yuzu turned his footsteps, and after a step, he quickly rushed into the basket to take off, and it was a double-handed dunk. Bang! There was a strong sound of frying the basket, and the basket was even pulled into an arc by Yuzu, which looked very thrilling. Toyoyo Inoue hurried away, fearing that Wozumi would tear off the basket. The baskets of this era are far less sturdy than those of later generations. There is no way. At this time, O'Neal has not yet joined the NBA. But even if it is a basket in this era, it is difficult for Yuzu to tear it off, mainly because his current tonnage is not large enough. Ikegami ran over to pick up the ball winkingly, and passed the ball to Inoue Toyoyo. Student, continue. However, Toyoyo Inoue passed the ball to Wozumi again. Toyoyo Inoue is very self-aware. His offense is very rough. If he wants to score, he must be close to the basket. When the strength, height and wingspan are not as good as fish, it is better not to humiliate yourself. Yuzumi didn't refuse, he roughly guessed Inoue Toyoyo's thoughts. This time, Toyoyo Inoue put his focus very low. Bang! Yuzumi hit back with all his strength. Toyosuke Inoue blushed and tried his best to resist. Bang! The second back kick came one after another. Even with Toyosuke Inoue's best efforts, his center of gravity still inevitably loosened, and he couldn't help but take a step back. Bang! Wozumi exerted strength again, and the strength exploded completely. Toyoyo Inoue completely lost his center of gravity and almost fell to the ground. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Wozumi turned around and stepped into the paint area. Bang! The roar of the basket sounded again, and Yuzumi successfully dunked with both hands. Toyoyo Inoue rubbed his chest vigorously, the impact almost made him faint. His chest was burning hot, as if he had been hit by a wild boar. So brutal. Inoue Toyosuke participated in the county competition last year, and this was the first time he encountered an opponent as strong as Yuzumi. Yuju's strength has reached 96, which is definitely the strongest level in Kanagawa Prefecture. In the original book, there is only one center forward in Kanagawa Prefecture who can hold the fish head-on, and that is Takenori Akaji. Come again. Toyo Inoue encouraged himself. He is a passionate player and will not admit defeat easily. Unfortunately, he met Yuju. In the following process, Yuju became more and more excited as he played more and more, and the skills of his previous life began to be integrated at a faster speed, especially the backup technique and inside footsteps. Inoue Toyoyo couldn't defend against Yuzu at all, and Yuzu's back hitting was very efficient, and even gave people a feeling that the more he hit, the easier it was. During this period, Wozumi also demonstrated hooks, close shots and layups. Yuju also used the Sigma step to successfully open up the shooting space, but unfortunately, his shooting outside the 3-second zone was really not very good, and the shooting ended in a black iron. Coach Tian Gang couldn't hide the surprise on his face. Yuzumi was much stronger than he imagined. As long as Yuzumi's defense was not too hip, he even had the hope of becoming the #1 center forward in Kanagawa County. In Kanagawa County in this era, the number of powerful centers is not as good as in the original book, and there are really not many competitors for Yuju. Not long after, Toyoyo Inoue had to take the initiative to stop. He couldn't hold it anymore, he just felt a pain in his chest, and when he took a look at the jersey, he saw a bruise. Qishang, you go. Coach Tian Gang had to send Qishang up. Coach, you are sure you are not embarrassing me? Ikegami came on stage with a dazed expression on his face. He was not the protagonist in Slam Dunk, Ryoji Ikegami, so he couldn't stand it. Qishang's strength is good, he can even fight against Mu Shini at his peak, but even at his peak, he can't stand up to Yuju, the tonnage of the two is not at the same level at all. The current strength of Ikegami is not as good as that of Inoue Toyoyo, and it seems that the only result of being abused. How about this, Qishang attacks, Yuju defends. Coach Tian Gang also knew that it would be too difficult for him to let Ikegami defend, not to mention that he wanted to see how good Yuju's defense was. Chi Yuyu wanted to say that his offensive skills were poor and he lacked the ability to attack independently, but he reluctantly agreed, after all, it was better than defense. Coach Tian Gang naturally knew that Ikegami was not very good at attacking. The reason why he let Ikegami attack was not only to test Yuju's defense, but also to improve Yuju's defensive confidence. With Qishang's offensive ability, even if Yuju defends and stretches his hips, he will not be completely unstoppable. It's just that it hurt Ikegami. On the court, Ikegami turned his back to catch the ball. He tried his back, but Yuzu didn't move at all, but was almost squeezed by Yuzu and walked. In a hurry, Qishang hurriedly turned around, changing from a back basket to a face basket. Yuzu's lateral speed is not as fast as Ikegami's, but Ikegami's ball control is also very poor, making Yuzu successfully block in front of him. Under the interference of Yuju's long arm, Ikegami, who has no breakthrough ability, had to pull the basketball, bite the bullet and take off to shoot. Pop. Ikegami was greeted by a volleyball cap, and Wozumi slapped the ball straight off the court. Ikegami staggered back 2 steps, and sat on the ground, wanting to cry. After eating Yuju's bloody hat, Ikegami couldn't help looking at Coach Tian Gang bitterly, hoping that Coach Tian Gang would withdraw his order. Continue. Coach Tian Gang didn't seem to notice it, and signaled Ikegami to continue attacking. Ikegami did not dare to disobey Coach Tian Gang's order, so he had to bite the bullet and face Yuju's defense. This time, Qishang was not capped, but under the interference of Yuju, he had to raise the height of his shot, and as a result, a 3-no stick came. In the following process, Qishang was completely suppressed by Yuju, either being capped or missing shots, and he didn't hit a single shot, and he couldn't even get into the basket. Ikegami was obviously hit, and his head shrugged, giving people a feeling of being in a daze. He was stunned. Looking at Qishang who was obviously hit, Yuju was also very puzzled. He just put a lot of water, but Qishang was stunned and missed a goal. Could it be that if he is asked to learn from Itachi Uchiha, it will be impossible to release the sea? Clap. At this time, Coach Tian Gang clapped his hands and signaled them to stop. Ikigami was obviously relieved, his confidence was about to collapse. Inoue, Ikigami, you two go together. Coach Tian Gang has a new idea. He can see that Yuju's defense is definitely on the level, but he can't analyze the specifics. No way, blame Ikigami's poor offense. Toyoyo Inoue's physical fitness has recovered a lot, but there is still a little bit of pain in his chest. Instructed by Coach Tainoka, Inoue and Ikigami teamed up to fight against Wozumi. To put it simply, Yuzu singled out two opponents. If one party fails to attack, the offense and defense will switch. End of this chapter. Chapter 8 Hook Up. Qi Shang showed an eager expression, and he didn't believe that the two of them could not hold the fish together. Student, you go first. Toyosuke Inoue passed the ball to Wozumi and began to defend with Ikigami. When he was on his back, Toyosuke Inoue defended from the back, while Ikigami stepped forward to harass and try to draw the ball. Yuju held the ball firmly with both hands, and the basketball was slightly deformed by his grip. He changed the direction of the basketball from time to time to avoid being intercepted by Ikigami. This inevitably distracted him and prevented him from going all out. Bang! After avoiding Ikigami's ball again, Wozumi took the opportunity to exert strength on his back. A powerful hitting force, with the back of the right shoulder as the base point, slammed heavily into Inoue Toyoyoshi's chest. Under the huge force, Inoue Toyoyo couldn't help but took a step back. Seeing that Inoue did not hold back, Ikigami hurriedly gave up taking the ball, and wanted to defend with Inoue to prevent the fish from getting close to the basket. Bang! Without Ikigami's harassment, Yuju began to go all out and launched a back attack with greater force. Ah! The sound of physical collision sounded, and Ikigami's eyes widened. He felt that his chest was about to collapse. The air in his chest was squeezed by a force, and he couldn't help but scream from his throat. Bang! Ikigami fell in response, and fell heavily on the floor, making a dull sound. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yuju turned around and strode past Ikigami, stepping into the 3-second zone. Toyoyo Inoue had to go around Ikigami to stop him. After entering the 3-second zone, Wozumi did not continue to dribble, and blocked Inoue's takeoff sideways. He stretched his right hand holding the basketball, bent and raised his wrist, and the basketball flew across an arc basket. Sigh. As soon as the basketball passed through the basket, there was a burst of white net flowers. Until then, Ikigami finally stood up from the ground in embarrassment. He rubbed his chest subconsciously, as if he felt the pain of Senior Inoue. This is simply a beast. Ikigami complained feebly. Compared with Toyoyo Inoue, Ikigami's strength may not be bad, but his weight is much lighter. How can he hold the fish? At this time, Wozumi picked up the ball and continued to attack. On the second ball, Yuju slammed his back into the space again, turned around and quickly rushed to the basket, blocking Ikigami with one hand, and his huge body suddenly exploded. Bang! Yuzu dunked with one-handed tomahawk and successfully dunked the ball into the basket. Under the strong force, the basketball hoop shook. Until the third attack, Yuzu missed the hook. Offensive and defensive conversion. This time, it was Inoue and Ikigami who attacked. With Inoue holding the ball, Yuzu didn't get too close to him. Instead, he deliberately moved 2 steps away from him, mainly moving around the 3-second zone. Neither Inoue nor Ikigami had a basket, and the offensive range was limited to the 3-second zone. At the same time, Yuzu is very aware of his own shortcomings. If he is too far from the basket, he has almost no chance of returning to defense. On the court, Inoue and Ikigami passed back and forth a few times, but they still could not draw Yuzu out. Under such circumstances, Inoue carefully aimed at the basket and took off to shoot. Drink! The moment he took off, Yuzu let out a loud shout, leaped up and stretched his hands straight. Inoue was more or less disturbed, and subconsciously raised the height of his shot, but he was not good at shooting, so he finally made a 3-point shot. If there is no interference, Toyoyo Inoue still has a certain degree of confidence, but once he is disturbed, his movements will be deformed, and whether he can be hit depends entirely on luck. Yuzu regained possession of the ball. This time, Inoue and Ikigami had learned to be smart. The two worked together to defend, and the other hand interfered. Bang bang. Yuzu tried to hit back, although it still had an effect, but it was negligible. He was still a little lighter after all, and he had to resort to technique before the gain was complete. Bang! Yuzu leaned back again, using the touch on his back to feel the general orientation of the two, then turned to the right at the fastest speed, and forcibly wiped past the Kagami. Due to the confrontation with the Kagami, Yuzu's speed was not fast. The moment he entered the 3-second zone, Toyoyo Inoue appeared in front of him first. It was also at this time that Yuzu raised his hands and made a shooting motion. Toyoyo Inoue did not take off, but subconsciously stood on tiptoe. Taking advantage of Inoue's center of gravity, Yuzu collected the ball and stepped forward sideways, turning his body halfway to avoid Ikegami's gambling-style steals. At the same time, he raised his right hand high, took off with one foot, hooked his wrist and fingers, and the basketball flew straight to up the basket. Toyoyo Inoue wanted to stop it, but before it was too late, he could only look up and watch the basketball fly over his head. Swish! The basketball passed through the basket, and a white net flower was stirred up again. What? Not far away, Coach Tian-gang showed an ecstatic expression. Yuzu's strength is far above his expectations, and it is definitely a plug-and-play high-quality instant combat power. As long as the training is done well, the inside line of the Lingnan team will definitely improve qualitatively. In the following process, the offense and defense continued. As time goes by, Yuzu's offensive efficiency will inevitably decline. Inoue and Ikegami became more and more familiar with Yuzu, and began to make targeted arrangements. The difficulty factor for Yuzu to get close to the basket increased significantly. Coupled with the loss of physical strength, the decline in efficiency was also reasonable. However, the efficiency of the fish on the defensive end is still maintained at a qualified level. No way, Inoue and Ikegami's offense is too bad. They have no singles ability, no basket, and even pass and control are very average. As long as Yuzu stays near the 3-second zone, the defensive efficiency will not be bad. After half an hour, Coach Tian-gang finally called to stop. The three of them stopped panting heavily. Coach Tian-gang looked serious, and began to correct some common-sense mistakes made by the three, and gave guidance and suggestions. Although Coach Tian-gang's on-the-spot command has been criticized by others, he has made great achievements in training players and has rich coaching experience. Okay, let's get here first. As soon as Coach Tian-gang finished speaking, Inoue and Ikegami breathed a sigh of relief. Inoue, Ikegami, from now on, you must come to train every afternoon until school starts. Do you have any comments? Seeing Coach Tian-gang's serious face, Inoue and Ikegami had no choice but to agree with a bitter face. They dare not go against Coach Tian-gang's will. Very well, then I'll go back first. As soon as Coach Tainoka left, Toyoyo Inoue couldn't wait to bid farewell to Wozumi. He still had a pain in his chest and didn't want to continue to fight Wozumi. Senior, bye. After Toyoyo Inoue left, seeing that Yuzumi had no intention of leaving, Ikegami asked strangely, Yuzumi, aren't you going back? I'm going to practice for a while, how about you? Yuzu took a look at the sky, it was not time to go back, he usually didn't go home until 6 o'clock. Then let me accompany you for a while. By the way, Yuzu, which direction do you think I should train? Ikegami also has a dream. He wants to get the approval of Coach Tian-gang as soon as possible and get the chance to play. Otherwise, if he does not perform well, he may not be able to apply for a scholarship next year. End of this chapter. Chapter 9 300 balls a day. If I were you, I would develop in the direction of a 3D player. What is a 3D player? It's not that Ikegami is ignorant, but that the concept of 3D players doesn't seem to exist in this era. The current NBA does not pay much attention to three-pointers. The rules are obviously conducive to the inside line. Because the closer to the basket, the higher the efficiency, this is also the reason why big men are more popular. The reason why slam dunk attaches great importance to three-pointers is mainly related to the distance from the three-point line. The distance from the NBA three-point line to the basket is 7.24 meters, while slam dunk implements the fiber rules, the distance from the three-point line to the basket is 6.25 meters, and the difference between the two three-point lines is 99 centimeters. This also means that the three-pointer in slam dunk is equivalent to the long two-pointer in the NBA. In the case of nearly 1 meter closer, it is understandable to pay attention to three-pointers. 3D players, among them, 3 refers to three-pointers, and D refers to defense. It refers to functional players whose main tasks are three-pointers and defense. You started with defense. If you have a three-pointer, I believe you'll get consistent playing time. Ikegami has excellent physical fitness, good defensive awareness, and is willing to defend. As long as he can practice a three-pointer, he has a chance to occupy a starting seat. However, three-pointers are not easy to practice, and it is difficult to achieve results in a short period of time. Yuju, I want to try. When he heard that there was a chance to get a stable playing time, Ikegami would be lying if he said he was not interested. In addition, Coach Tian Gang's treatment for Ikegami is not as good as Yuju. He only has a stipend, which greatly reduces the tuition fee. Qi Shang's family is poor, so he naturally wants to fight for it, so as to relieve the pressure on his parents. Well, let's try to shoot a three-pointer first. Yuju passed the ball casually. Outside the three-point line, Ikegami took aim, then jumped up and shot the basketball in his hand. Sigh. The basketball didn't make a hit, and it just brushed against the nets, but it was a non-stick. Ikegami touched the back of his head in embarrassment, and wanted to run over to pick up the ball. Let me do it. Yuju picked up the basketball and came to Ikegami. Well, let me teach you the correct shooting posture first. You have to know that the correct shooting posture can help improve your shooting percentage. Yuju began to teach by hand. Once some habits are formed, it is difficult to change easily. This is related to the inertia of human thinking. The sooner you develop the correct shooting posture, you can effectively avoid the drop in shooting percentage caused by frequent changes in shooting posture in the future. Among them, including the shape of the ball handler and the shape of the ball handler, many people are more concerned about the problem of the ball handler, but once the ball handler is wrong, the subsequent ball handler cannot be correct, which is very important. That's it. Soon, Yuju corrected Ikegami's shooting posture. Qi Shang felt a little awkward, and asked worriedly, Yuju, is this really possible? Don't worry, these are the contents of the textbook. Hearing what Yuzu said, Ikegami felt relieved, took off, and threw the basketball in his hand again, and finally made another three-point shot. He needs a period of time to adapt to the new shooting posture, and then it is training day after day. When the muscle memory is formed, the three-point shooting rate can be effectively improved. Ikegami, if you can consistently hit, three-pointers every day, maybe it won't take long before you can impress Coach Tayanoka. Yuzumi thought of Ichiro Shinzong of the Hainan team. God is through day after day training, and tirelessly perseveres with the goal of hitting 500 three-pointers every day. Who would have thought that this thin boy, who couldn't run fast or jump high, would eventually become a killer who made people lose his face, and even became the scoring leader in the county competition in the second year of high school. Yuju doesn't want Qishang to have the same shooting ability as God, after all, it requires enough talent, I just hope that he can reach the level of Mumu Gongyan. Shoot 300 three-pointers. There is a big gap between shooting, shots and making, shots, especially Ikegami's three-point shooting rate is still very low, which makes him feel Alexander. Don't worry, I'll help you pick up the ball. You just need to shoot uninterrupted. In addition, during training, you must maintain your shooting posture and rhythm, which can improve your shooting percentage to a certain extent. In order for Ikegami to quickly grasp the three-pointer, Wozumi began to help pick up the ball. Qishang was very moved and was full of gratitude to Yuju. In fact, Yuju did this completely incidentally. His main purpose was to improve his sense of rebounding and improve his passing skills at the same time. With Ikegami's current three-point shooting percentage, most of them will be converted into rebounds. Yuzu passed the basketball to Ikegami, and said casually, but it's a bit late today, so let's set the goal to hit 100 three-pointers. Okay, I will definitely stick to it. Ikegami showed firm eyes, and he also wanted to see where his limit was. Bang! Ikegami threw the basketball in his hand again. This time, the basketball hit the backboard and bounced high. With a light jump, Yuzu took down the basketball. At the moment of landing, Yuzu turned around at the fastest speed and passed the ball back to Ikegami based on his feeling. Yuzu's pass was not accurate enough, and Ikegami had to move sideways to catch the basketball. Continue. Yuzu pointed to the basket, ready to fight. Boom boom schwa boom boom. Ikegami made three-pointers again and again, but his shooting percentage was very touching, no different from beginners. He rarely practices three-point shooting, not to mention his shooting posture has changed, and it will take some time to adapt. After more than half an hour, Ikegami developed a certain sense of touch, and his hit rate began to improve. Even so, most of them still focus on blacksmithing, and occasionally throw 3 non-stick shots. In this process, Yuju also gained a certain amount, which can be seen from his data panel. His rebounding and passing values are showing an upward trend. The more progress visible to the naked eye, the more inspiring it is. 98, 99, 100, I'm exhausted. When he made the last three-pointer, Ikegami finally breathed a sigh of relief, and then lay on the ground exhausted, not wanting to wake up at all. Although there are fish to pass the ball, because the hit rate is too touching, in order to hit 100 goals, Ikegami feels that he has made hundreds of shots. This is still some progress made later, otherwise I don't know when I will vote. Yuju took a few breaths, pulled Chishan up from the floor, and said with a smile, "It's already past 7 o'clock, come to my house to eat today." "No, I should be the one who treats you to dinner." Chishan is an honest person, Yuju helped him train, and now he wants to invite him to dinner, he will naturally feel embarrassed. End of this chapter. Chapter 10 Player Self-Cultivation. It's okay, it's just a meal, maybe I will go to your house for a meal someday. That's the reason, but I always feel very embarrassed. What's so embarrassing about it? You just treat it as if you were at your own home. Yuju shook his head, handed the mop to Chishan, and started cleaning. Since Coach Tian Gang handed over the place to Yuju, he will naturally be responsible for cleaning, so as to prepare for tomorrow's training. Okay then. Ikegami finally agreed and began mopping the floor hard. The fish went to the equipment room and put the equipment in order. He will carry out strength training here every day, and he dare not slack off at all. After cleaning, Yuju took Chishan home. Kudo Rina was standing at the entrance of Yuzu restaurant. When he saw Yuzu, he hurriedly asked with concern, Jun, why did you train so late today? There was concern in her words. Usually Yuzu would go home at 6 o'clock in the evening, but now it was almost 8 o'clock. Mom, I'm sorry to make you worry. By the way, have you eaten with Dad? Kudo Rina shook his head. No, I'm waiting for you. By the way, let me introduce first. This is my friend Ryoji Ikegami, who will be enrolled in Lingnan High School after the spring break. Yuzu introduced Ikegami. Until then, Kudo Rina finally noticed Ikegami. Hello, Auntie, if it wasn't for me, Yuzu wouldn't be late, so I'm causing you trouble. Ikegami hurriedly bowed and apologized, he looked a little nervous. It's okay, you don't have to be so polite. You probably haven't eaten yet. If you don't dislike it, you can stay and eat whatever you want. Kudo Rina enthusiastically welcomed Ikegami into the restaurant, and then shouted at Yuzu Sakai, Horong, we have guests at home, remember to cook 2 more good dishes. Good. Yuzu Sakai glanced back, and responded with a smile. Auntie, don't be so polite. Ikegami wanted to shirk, but Kudo Rina was too enthusiastic, and finally had no choice but to accept it. As a restaurant that has been passed down for decades, Wozumi Sakai's craftsmanship is naturally beyond words. Different from other people's food, there is a food bowl in front of Yuzu, which contains a lot of food. Seeing the food in the food bowl, Ikegami was obviously taken aback. Most of them are filled with chicken, fish, beef, vegetables and fruits, but not much rice. Yuzu didn't say anything, picked up a piece of chicken breast, and ate it without any seasoning. Apart from a slight salty taste, there is almost no other taste. It's not just chicken, but the rest of the food is the same, without extra seasoning. During this time, Yuzu ate such food every day. His diet is mainly low-fat and high-protein, such as chicken breast, beef, etc., which can ensure his physical fitness can keep up with training. Eating the same food every day, Yuzu would feel bored, but in order to maintain his body, he still worked hard to persevere. In terms of body management, Yuzu's will is still very firm. Not only can he effectively tap his potential, but he can also maintain his competitive state on the court. Looking at his son who was feasting, Yuzu Rong couldn't help but sighed, and said, Ah Chun, your appetite is really getting bigger and bigger now, with the way you eat, we will be overwhelmed by you sooner or later. Dad, you can just relax and earn it back when I become a professional player. Yuju waved his hand without embarrassment at all. He doesn't know how to get potential points, but even if he can't get them, as long as he fully realizes his potential, it's enough to get a foothold in the island nation's professional league, not to mention joining the NBA in the future. Professional league. Qishang was obviously taken aback, but after thinking about Yuzu's size and strength, he felt that Yuzu had a chance. Feeling Ikigami's gaze, Yuzu couldn't help but patted him on the shoulder. Ikigami, you also need to practice hard. With your physical fitness, as long as you practice defense and three-point shooting well, you also have a chance to become a professional player. Can I really be a professional player? Ikigami obviously lacked confidence. He was not even a star player in middle school, he was just a defensive player. If Mitsui's show is compared to how Ikigami is the light of fireflies, the light is completely covered up. Ikigami, you need to know that your skills can be developed slowly, but your body can't be trained often. You have such a good body, and most players can't compare to you in this respect. As the future defensive leader of the Lingnan team, Ikigami's physical fitness will be poor. In the actual game, Ikigami's performance was also quite impressive, and he performed well against both Ashin and Mitsui. When dealing with Mitsui, Mitsui's efficiency dropped, not to mention that he was exhausted. This was the only match in which Mitsui was exhausted. It is Ikigami. In addition, in the game against Hainan, Ikigami also defended AMU. His speed can keep up with Amu, and he doesn't seem to be inferior in confrontation, and his physical fitness can be imagined. Even if it is not as good as Amu, the gap is not very big. Hearing what Yuju said, Ikigami's eyes lit up, and he immediately cheered up. Since Yuju said he could, why didn't he try it? In case it is successful. People have to dare to try, even if they fail in the end, it is better than leaving regrets. Before he knew it, the dinner was over, and Yuju sent Qishang to the door. Yuju, do you want to train at night? Well, the main thing is to exercise at night, do you want to join me? Training with multiple people can also relieve boredom, not to mention that the stronger Ikigami is, the greater the help to the team. Yes, but not today, I have to go home first, so as not to worry my parents. Okay, but I still have to remind you about one thing. High-intensity training must be done with adequate nutrition, otherwise it will easily have the opposite effect. Before Qishang left, Yuju solemnly reminded him. Qishang's family is not very good, and I am afraid it will be difficult to maintain it for a long time. I see. Ikigami nodded silently, and then said goodbye to Yuzumi. Yuju is also very helpless, his family can only be self-sufficient, and there is no help in this regard. In the early morning of the next day, Yuju was dribbling the basketball awkwardly, ignoring the strange stares of others, and walked towards Lingnan High School as if there was no one else around. Fish live, early. Suddenly, a familiar voice came. Yuzu looked up, only to find that it was Qishang. At this moment, Ikigami was riding an old-fashioned bicycle, with two bulging cloth bags fixed on the back seat, parked in front of him. Seeing this bicycle, Ozumi asked suspiciously, Ikigami, what are you doing? End of this chapter. Chapter 11. Delivering newspapers, this is the job I was looking for last night, what do you think? Very good, this way you can not only make money, but also exercise your body, killing two birds with one stone. Yuju knew the reason why Qishang did this. He wanted to use his labor to get paid and maintain the nutrition needed for training. I think so too. By the way, this job can also enjoy a free breakfast and save a sum of breakfast expenses. Qishang said happily, he is very satisfied with this job. That's good. Stop talking, I'll go to work first, come on. After saying goodbye, Ozumi continued to come to the basketball hall to start training. At noon, Qishang came to the basketball hall and tried hard to practice three-pointers. No matter how difficult it is, he must hit, goals today. Yuju continued to help, while reducing Ikigami's physical loss, his sense of rebounding and passing skills were also improved. What? Not long after, Coach Tian Gang came to the basketball hall and was surprised when he found that Ikigami was practicing three-pointers. However, he did not stop, but instead showed a thoughtful expression. Ever since he discovered that Yuzu's strength far exceeded expectations, Coach Tian Gang had the idea of using Yuzu as the core. How to make better use of Yuzu's strength, he has thought of many plans. One of the solutions is Yuzu plus 4 shooters, and let the 4 shooters take away the opponent players. In this way, what Yuzu has to do is very simple, that is to blow up the opponent players. From Coach Tian Gang's point of view, even if you look at the whole country, there may be no players who can hold the fish, but they are definitely rare. If it is Kanagawa Prefecture alone, it is possible that no one can stop it. Therefore, for Ikegami's active practice of 3-pointers, Coach Tayanoka can be said to be happy to see the results. After 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Toyoyo Inoue, who arrived late, finally came to the basketball hall. Toyosuke Inoue showed a bitter face, and said helplessly, "Coach, my chest still hurts a bit, so I need to take it easy. Let's practice rebounding today, shall we?" Coach Tian Gang did not object. Toyoyo Inoue is the main player of the Lingnan team. Once injured, the performance of the Lingnan team may be affected. Ikegami continued to shoot 3-pointers, Wozumi and Inoue Toyoyo began to compete for rebounds. In the process of scrambling, Toyoyo Inoue was surprised to find that Yuzu's rebounding ability had improved significantly. Whether it was rebounding sense or positioning skills, he could already compete with him. Both the parties involved and the outsiders can clearly feel the progress of Yuzu, and Coach Tian Gang is no exception. Coach Tian Gang couldn't hide the smile on his face, he didn't expect Yuzu to improve so fast. In fact, Yuzu has definitely made some progress, but more is because he is familiar with Ikegami's shooting rhythm. He can judge the general direction of the rebound through his shooting angle, strength and arc. After more than an hour, Toyoyo Inoue almost collapsed from exhaustion, which was due to the fact that he had rested several times during the period. Yuzu's confrontation was too strong, and he had to expend a lot of physical strength on the guard position. When Inoue Toyosuke left, Ikegami continued to shoot 3-pointers. On this day, his 3-point shooting percentage improved to a certain extent, and before 6 o'clock in the evening, he finally completed his goal of making shots. Ikegami wiped off his hot sweat, and a smile appeared on his face. "Chi-shang, make persistent efforts tomorrow. Let's work hard together." Pop. The two clapped their hands, and everything was in silence. Time flies by like a fleeting horse, and it will soon be April, which is also the time when the high school in the island country starts. Unlike Hwagwa, the first semester of high school in island country starts in April. They have 3 semesters in total, including spring vacation, summer vacation and winter vacation. Perhaps it was Yuzu's motivation, or Chi-shang's will was strong enough. In short, Chi-shang persevered, no matter it was windy or rainy, he never slacked off. Ikegami's progress is quite obvious. The open 3-pointer has been guaranteed to a certain extent, and his physical fitness has been further developed. Of course, compared with Yuzu, Ikegami still pales in comparison. Name, Yuzu Jun. Age, 16. Height, 200 centimeters. Arm span, 209 centimeters. Weight, 89 kilograms. Physical fitness. 97/100, 68/80, 62/73, 85/91, 55/60. Offensive skills. 80/85, 38/68, 14/52, 55/66, 45/78, 80/93. Defensive skills. 78/93, 62/73, 92/96, 57/68, 94/99. Allocatable potential points, 0. In just 1 month, Yuzu has made rapid progress. Except for 3 points, almost all other aspects have improved significantly. Compared with the senior high school Yuzu in the original book, the current Yuzu is stronger offensively, but the defense may be weaker, and it is hard to judge which one is better. But one thing is certain, the current Yuzu already has the ability to rank among the top centers. The reason why he has improved so fast is not only the hard training, but also the reason for the integration of previous life technology. On the first day of school, Yuzu and Chi-shang entered Lingnan University hand in hand. Along the way, students could be seen in 2s and 3s from time to time. Because the fish lives at an amazing height and has a strong body, one can imagine his rate of turning heads. So high. My God, that's too high. I'm afraid they are 2 meters long. This should be a player from the basketball team. Is this really a high school student? When seeing the fish living, both students and teachers were shocked by his height. No matter what era it is in, the 2-meter giant can always become the focus, let alone this era. In the island country of this era, 2-meter giants are extremely scarce, let alone high school students. Counting the entire SD, there are only 2 high school players over 2 meters in total, and they are Wozumi and Zayahishin. Even if the scope is expanded, only the fathers of Tanazawa, Sugiyama Shota, and Matsui are eligible, and they can count them all. With such a tall and mighty body, even the bully in the school would not be so stupid as to make trouble for you. Soon, the two came to their class. Perhaps it was Tainoka Moichi's arrangement that Wozumi and Ikigami became classmates. The first class was finished in the seating and self-introduction. When arranging the seats, since the two were the tallest in the class, they were naturally placed at the back. So, they became tablemates again. Needless to say, Yuju's self-introduction, a month of training has made his body much stronger, his eyes sharper, and full of deterrence. The students were in awe of him, and no one dared to offend such an existence. During class, Yuju sat upright and listened carefully. Although he doesn't like studying very much, for the sake of the future, he dare not slack off at all, especially English. If he wants to play in the NCAA or NBA, he must master this language well. On the other hand, Chishang beside him was sleeping soundly. In order to maintain the training needs, Ikigami has to get up early every day to deliver newspapers. In addition, his training intensity is very high. It must be a lie to say that it is not hard. However, Chishang also fell asleep in a daze for a class, and after discovering that Yuju was studying, he was also motivated unconsciously. When school was over, the two went to the basketball court hand in hand. Thank you very much for your recommendations and rewards. End of this chapter. Chapter 12 Intra-Team Competition. Unlike the calm Yuju, Chishang looked a little nervous. Yuju, aren't you nervous? What's there to be nervous about? Yuju asked back. This is mainly because I don't know if those seniors get along well. Don't worry about it, they don't have that leisure time. Yuju shook his head, and with Coach Tian Gang's severity, the Lingnan players didn't have the extra energy to crowd out the juniors. Soon, the two entered the basketball court. In addition to them, there are many high school freshmen who have just joined the team. As a veteran top 8 team, the Lingnan team is still very attractive in the school, and many freshmen want to join the team. As for whether they can persist, it is unknown. When Yuju and Chishang came in, the freshmen subconsciously thought that they were the seniors of the basketball team, and hurriedly called them seniors respectfully. Don't get me wrong, we are also first-year freshmen just like you. Yuju hurriedly denied it, and the freshmen looked at each other, speechless. At this time, Coach Tian Gang was standing on the basketball court with his arms folded and his face serious. Standing next to him is a girl, she is the manager of the basketball team, Chuanshan Lighting. Chuanshan Lighting is about 1.7 meters tall, looks pure and looks very friendly. In front of Coach Tian Gang, there were several players wearing Lingnan jerseys. They are all the first-choice players of the Lingnan team, and they are all seniors in the 2nd and 3rd grades of high school. As for the backup players, they can only stand on the edge of the field. Although the number of candidates for the Lingnan team is far less than that of Xianyang and Hainan, there are still some. It's just that Coach Tian Gang is very strict, and the training intensity of the Lingnan team is very high. Coupled with the inability to play games, there are very few candidates who can persist in the end. At this time, the two came to Coach Tian Gang. As soon as he saw the two of them, Coach Tian Gang couldn't help showing a smile on his face. The first-choice players were very surprised. They had hardly seen such a kind smile from Coach Tian Gang. At the same time, they were also looking at the two of them, their eyes mainly focused on the tall Yuju, and they were shocked by his height. Wow, it's so high. Chuanshan Lighting covered her small mouth with her right hand, and was shocked by Yuju's height. She showed interest in her eyes, and wanted to measure Yuju's height on the spot. However, she knew that now was not the time. Chuanshan, bring over the 2 sets of official jerseys. Coach Tian Gang's voice sounded. Chuanshan Lighting hurried to the storage room beside her, and when she came out, she already had 2 sets of jerseys in her hand. Yuzhu, Qishang, this is your jersey. Coach Tian Gang looked at the numbers and handed the 2 sets of jerseys to them respectively. Yuzhu took it over and took a look. When he saw that it was the No. jersey, he couldn't help being startled. In SD, the higher the jersey number, the higher the status in the team. Generally speaking, the captain of the team usually wears the No. jersey, and the vice-captain wears the No. jersey. Judging from the jersey number, this means that Coach Tian Gang attaches great importance to him, otherwise he would not give him the No. jersey, which is second only to the captain and vice-captain, instead of other senior players. Yuzu looked at Ikegami's jersey again. His jersey was number 15, which is a relatively low jersey number. Seeing the jerseys of the main draft of the two, the alternate players showed envy and hatred in their eyes. They also want to be the main election, but their strength does not allow it. While waiting, more and more Lingnan players stepped into the basketball hall. Closed. Chuanshan Lighting checked the time, and gestured to close the door to the 2 candidate players standing at the door. When the gate was closed, the basketball hall became a completely closed place. Yusaku Ozawa, roll call. Under the signal of Coach Tian Gang, a player who was not much taller than Harakami Writing immediately came out. He wears the No. jersey and is also the captain of the Lingnan team. Yusaku Ozawa began to roll the roll. As long as the player whose name was called by him, he would step forward. Coach, everyone is here. In just 2 or 3 minutes, Yusaku Ozawa finished the roll call. His name-calling objects are limited to the main draft players. Whether the spare players come or not depends purely on their self-consciousness. Very good. Coach Tian Gang clasped his hands, and then said to Yuzumi and Ikegami, Yuzumi, Ikegami, please introduce yourself first. Yuzhu took a step forward and shouted loudly, I am Yuzhu Chun, a first-year freshman, please give me your advice, seniors. I'm Ryoji Ikegami, a first-year freshman. After the introduction of the two, Coach Tian Gang did not let the players start training immediately, but tested their physical fitness. This is also a must-have item at the beginning of each year. Coach Tian Gang needs to accurately grasp the status of the players. After all, I haven't seen him for a month, and the status of the players will definitely fluctuate. The test items are relatively simple. In addition to the most basic height, arm span, and weight, there are also standing height, vertical takeoff, field sprint, bench press, etc. Through these tests, the physical condition of the players can be seen at a glance. During the test, Yuzhu became the focus again. Wow, it's really 2 meters. This is probably the highest height in our team's history. My God, his strength is too strong. Is this really a freshman? No way, his speed and jumping are not bad. His physical fitness is really good. Our team seems to have a powerful big guy. Seeing Yuzhu's test results, the players were shocked by Yuzhu's performance. Coach Tayanoka couldn't hide the smile on his face. The physical data of Wozumi and Ikegami were obviously higher than his expectations. For the sport of basketball, the body can be said to be the foundation. If you don't have a good body, no matter how good your skills are, your future achievements will often be limited. For example, there are many players who use Larry Bird as a template, but there is only one Larry Bird. Next we will have an intra-team match. Due to time constraints, there are only 20 minutes. As soon as Coach Tian Gang finished speaking, many of the lower-ranked first-choice players looked at him expectantly, hoping that their names could be called. The current Lingnan team has a total of 15 selected players, but there are only 12 players in the county competition, which means that 3 people cannot participate in the county competition, and they don't even have a bench. Therefore, the lower-ranked players will naturally not miss any chance to perform. The main purpose of doing this is to strengthen the competition within the team and make the players feel a sense of crisis, so as to better tap the potential of the players. Soon, Coach Tian Gang selected several first-year freshmen. They were also freshmen who had just joined the team. Unlike Yuzumi and Ikegami, they were still reserve players. Whether they can be selected depends on their performance. In the test just now, the physical fitness of these freshmen is second only to Yuzhu and Qishang. As for their strength, we will only know after playing. This intra-team match is similar to Xiangbei in the original book, with freshmen fighting against old students. After learning that it was a confrontation with freshmen, the senior players showed eager smiles. If nothing else, this will be another massacre. In addition to being stronger, this is also related to their tacit understanding. Compared with them, the freshmen are completely disorganized. It is difficult to play a wonderful cooperation, and it is more likely that they will fight on their own and get lost on the field. End of this chapter. Chapter 13 Freshmen vs. Veterans. Soon, the two sides determined the starting players. Senior players are configured as follows. Center forward, Dainin Gujian, 192 cm, 83 kg, 3rd grade. Power forward, Toyasuke Inoue, 190 cm, 86 kg, sophomore. Small forward, Sasaki Oribe, 179 cm, 73 kg in weight, 3rd grade. Shooting guard, Yusaku Ozawa, 174 cm, 75 kg in weight, 3rd grade. Point guard, Asahi Matsushita, 167 cm, 65 kg, sophomore. Among them, Danu Guma and Inoue Toyoyo are both defensive blue collars. Sasaki Oribe is good at running, has plenty of physical strength and good shooting ability. Yusaku Ozawa's physical fitness is relatively mediocre, but his basic skills are solid and he is proficient in various skills. This is the main reason why he can become the team captain. In the end, Panasonic Shujian is the fastest player in the team. He has a strong breakthrough ability and a certain shooting ability. His organizational ability can only be said to be fair. As for the first-year freshmen, there is no need to introduce them. In addition to Yuzhu and Qishang, there are also 3 passers-by who don't deserve to have names. They can be called passers-by point guards, passers-by shooting guards and passers-by small forwards. That's right, Wozumi is the center forward, and Ikigami is the power forward. They are also the 2 with the highest altitude among the freshmen. The current Qishang is only 182 centimeters, which shows the height of the other 3 people. In the preparation stage, Wozumi took the initiative to stand up. Except for Ikigami, he still didn't know the characteristics of the other 3 teammates. Basketball is a team sport. If you fight on your own, unless your individual strength crushes the opponent, you will only lose in the end. Wozumi is very confident in himself and thinks it will be difficult for senior players to limit his performance. But a person's strength is limited after all. Without the help of his teammates, he may not even be able to catch the ball. Everyone, we are now a whole. Only by being united can we have a chance to win this match. I believe you don't want to lose the match either. Yuzhu is right, we must unite to have a chance to win this game. As a good friend of Yuzhu, Qishang hurriedly took over. Seeing that the only 2 freshmen in the main selection said so, the other 3 candidate freshmen naturally had no intention of rejecting it, let alone they didn't want to lose too badly. From the beginning to the end, the 3 passers-by freshmen never thought about winning. Regarding their reactions, Wozumi didn't have much to say, and continued, first of all, we must understand each other's characteristics and what each person is good at, so that we can better formulate tactics. What I'm best at is the post-up shot, and my shooting range is mainly concentrated in the paint that if you don't find a chance, you can pass the ball to me at any time, and I will never let you down. After Yuzhu finished speaking, Ikigami went on to say, I am good at defense and 3-pointers. If I run out of the open space, don't forget to pass the ball. The 3 freshmen also described their own characteristics and strengths. Among them, passerby point guards are faster and good at organizing. Passing point guards are good at driving, but poor at shooting. Passerby small forwards have a certain shooting ability, but only in mid-range shots. Generally speaking, the 3 freshmen have their own characteristics, and their specific performance depends on their performance on the field. According to their characteristics, Yuzhu began to arrange tactics. Due to unfamiliarity, the tactics deployed are very simple. As for whether it can be played out, it is still unknown. As for the defense, it is naturally man-to-man. They don't even have the most basic tacit understanding, and the defense can only be played by individuals. Of course, if there is a chance, Yuzhu will also assist in defense, but compared to single defense, Yuzhu's assistance in defense is relatively average. Before playing, Yuzhu whispered to Qishang, Qishang, remember to pull away later and go to your most comfortable position. Whenever there is an opportunity, I will try my best to pass the ball to you. Remember to seize the opportunity. Well, don't worry. Ikegami made an okay gesture. From Yuju's point of view, I am afraid that only Chishan can help him. As for the remaining 3 freshmen, he doesn't expect much, he just hopes that they won't stretch their hips too much. Beep. The referee blew his whistle to signal the players on both sides to get ready. Yuju and Danu came to the middle circle. They looked at each other and were ready to jump the ball. The next moment, the referee threw the basketball in his hand into the sky. When the basketball fell, the two jumped up almost in unison. Taking advantage of his height and wingspan, Yuzumi touched the basketball first and patted it to his point guard. As soon as the passerby point guard received the basketball, Panasonic Shujin rushed up immediately. Pop. Panasonic Shujin's speed was very fast, he slapped the basketball with a slap, and completed the steal in an instant. Yusaku Ozawa grabbed the basketball, and with a shake, he easily opened a certain space, and then made a shooting posture. Due to his eagerness to perform and lack of experience, the passerby shooting guard jumped up subconsciously. Unfortunately, this is Yu Ozawa's fake action. The moment he took off, Ozawa Yusaku took advantage of the situation to complete the breakthrough. After taking 2 steps, Ozawa Yusaku took off in the horn area and shot. At this time, Yuzu had just returned to the basket. Seeing Ozawa Yusuke making a shot, he quickly stuck Danu Guma behind him, trying to grab a rebound. Sigh. It's a pity that the basketball fell into the basket precisely, which made Yuzu do useless work. Yuzu was not discouraged, he threw the basketball to the passerby point guard, and trotted forward by himself. The passerby point guard dribbled the ball for half the court, probably because he was too nervous. When he saw Panasonic Shujin rushing towards him, he subconsciously panicked. This caused his dribbling movements to be deformed, and under the pressure of Matsushita Shujin, he was once again intercepted by the opponent. Matsushita Asahi's fast break was very fast, he picked up the basketball and completed the layup at the fastest speed. 4 o'clock. The passerby point guard was very depressed, and he had to raise his hand to show that it was his mistake. Don't be nervous, you must protect the ball. Yuzu patted the passerby point guard on the shoulder, and came to the bottom line to serve again. The passerby point guard calmed down a lot this time. After half-time, seeing Panasonic Shujin pounce again, he hurriedly carried the opponent on the side, not giving the opponent a chance to steal, and began to observe the situation on the court. During this process, Ikegami ran towards the bottom corner on the left, where he was most confident. Toyosuke Inoue knew that Ikegami practiced a three-pointer, so he had to follow. All of a sudden, the basket was much empty. Yuzu entered the low position and began to compete with Dainin Gujien for the position. Regardless of weight or strength, Dekusu is not as good as him. From the point of view of feeling, Dekusu's confrontation seems to be not as good as Inoue Toyoyo. Yuzu easily locked his position and began to ask passers-by point guards for the ball. Immediately, the passerby point guard hurriedly passed the ball to Yuzu. End of this chapter. Chapter 14. As soon as he received the basketball, Yuzu leaned on his back and began to exert strength. So strong. Dainin Gujien only felt a huge force rushing towards him, which made his upper body lean back obviously, and he took a step back involuntarily. However, this is just a test. Feeling the resistance of Danu's old man, Yuzu made another effort. A stronger force struck, and Dainin couldn't help groaning, like a collapsing dam, staggered back and lost his defensive position. Yuzu turned around in an instant, and after taking a big step, he soared into the air, and smashed his 2 big hands towards the basket. Bang! Accompanied by the strong sound of frying baskets, Yuzumi successfully completed a slam dunk. Amazing! Players both on and off the court stared in shock at the behemoth hanging on the basket. This visual effect is too explosive. Coach Tian Gang stood on the sidelines, the corners of his mouth raised and he couldn't help clapping his hands. Seeing this domineering slam dunk, the players of the freshman team cheered up immediately, and they were no longer as nervous as before. Offensive and defensive conversion. Asahi Ken Matsushita dribbled the ball through half-court, using Toyoyo Inoue's pick and roll to easily break through the passerby point guard, and rushed to the basket at high speed. Qi Shang hurriedly switched defenses, but he had already lost the opportunity. Matsushita Shujian's speed was too fast, and Qi Shang, who was a step slower, failed to catch up for a while. Yuju had no choice but to step forward, and Matsushita Shujian made a false throw and passed the basketball to the emptied Danu Gujian. As soon as he received the basketball, Danon hurriedly took a step forward, wanting to slam dunk. Pop! Just at this time, a huge figure appeared behind him, but it was Yuju who didn't eat, and arrived in time, just a big hat of nails. After falling, Yuju caught Danon Gujian again and grabbed the rebound easily. Danu Guma and Inoue Toyoyo wanted to grab the ball, but Wozumi swung a pair of big elbows, scaring the two back away. After passing the basketball to the passerby point guard, Yuju trotted towards the front court. The passerby point guard carefully controlled the ball for half court, blocked Matsushita Asahi Ken with one hand, and passed the ball to the passerby shooting guard with the other hand. The passerby shooting guard breaks through with the ball. Although Yusaku Ozawa's physical fitness is mediocre, but he has rich defensive experience, the passerby shooting guard did not complete the breakthrough, but was almost intercepted. Seeing this situation, Yuju had to come to Nyojiao district to meet him. The passerby shooting guard hurriedly handed the ball to the fish. As soon as he received the basketball, Daniel was standing behind him, and Yusaku Ozawa directly abandoned the passerby shooting guard and wanted to take the ball. Yuzu hurriedly swayed to avoid an Lushan's claws from Yuzwa Ozawa, and then hit close to his body with all his strength. Bang! There was a dull sound of body collision. Even though Yuju didn't exert all his strength, it still shook the center of gravity of Danon Guma, causing his upper body to lean back obviously. Before Danu returned to his center of gravity, Yuju took advantage of the situation to complete his turn and strode into the 3-second zone. Danan tried his best to stop him, and Yusaku Ozawa rushed over again. However, at this moment, Yuju leaned sideways against Danu, raised his right hand high, jumped with one foot, hooked his wrist, and hooked the ball towards the basket. What? Ozawa Yusaku and Danu Guma both showed shock, and subconsciously stared at the flying basketball. Sigh. The basketball passed through the heart, swaying a white net flower. Danon shrugged helplessly, he really couldn't resist the fish. After reserving the ball, Matsushita Shujian dribbled the ball for half the court, then used the pick and roll to break through again, and rushed towards the inside with the ball. Yuju had no choice but to step forward again, raising one hand to interfere, and the other hand to expand the defensive area, and open 2 steps away from Matsushita Shujian. If it is close to the body, with the speed of Matsushita Shujian, he can easily break through him. On the other side, Danan did not wait in place, and rushed straight to the basket. Matsushita Shujian quickly stepped to the right, but he did not continue to break through. He used the base to pass the ball and accurately passed the ball to Danu Guma. Bang! This time, Yuju didn't have time to return to defense, so he could only watch helplessly as Danon completed his slam dunk. His speed is not very fast after all, and needs to be further improved. In the next round, after you lived in the stuck position, he received a pass from his teammate again. This time, Toyosuke Inoue immediately abandoned Ikigami and double-teamed with Danu. When Inoue Toyosuke rushed up, Wozumi hurriedly hit the ground and passed the ball to Qishang, who quickly ran to the bottom corner. Inoue was startled, and hurriedly turned around and rushed to the pool. Ikigami even had time to take a glance, jumped up vigorously, and threw the basketball out with a stretched posture. Bang! Unfortunately, Ikigami's luck was not very good, the basketball spun around the hoop and flew out. Yuju and Danu Gujin competed for a rebound under the basket, and Yuju lost his favorable position due to being squeezed by Yuju. Before he could make adjustments, Yuju jumped lightly and grabbed the rebound. Toyoyo Inoue and Yusaku Ozawa hurriedly dropped their respective defenders and rushed towards Wozumi together, trying to encircle them on 3 sides. Come again. Yuju jumped up quickly, but instead of dunking, he passed the ball hard to Chigami. Sigh. This time, Ikigami successfully seized the opportunity and successfully hit a 3-pointer. In the process of returning to defense, Yuzumi patted Ikigami on the shoulder and shouted, "Ikigami, good shot." Qishang staggered when he patted his feet, and quickly stabilized his steps. "Huh, it's better for you to pass it on." Ikigami was in a very happy mood. If Yuzumi hadn't grabbed the offensive rebound, he wouldn't have had a second chance. The game is still going on. After the morale has been improved, the freshmen are more excited, and the defensive efficiency has obviously improved to a higher level. For a while, the old students did not find a chance, and Matsushita Asahi had to hand the ball to Yusaku Ozawa. Among the senior players, Yusaku Ozawa is recognized as the core, and also has the most outstanding personal offensive ability. Yusaku Ozawa held the ball in his right hand and shook his shoulders. The passing shooting guard swayed subconsciously, and his center of gravity shifted. Taking advantage of this fleeting opportunity, Yusaku Ozawa easily made a breakthrough and charged with the ball. Before Ikegami stepped forward to make up the defense, the screeching sound of the sneakers rubbing against the floor sounded. Yusaku Ozawa jumped up and threw the basketball in his hand. Stop jump shot. Sigh. Yusaku Ozawa's touch is very silky, and the basketball is hollow into the basket. When the freshman team started to attack, unlike the last time, Danan did not continue to defend, but resolutely chose to go around and defend. In a basketball game, the forward defense is a defensive technique that interferes with the opponents receiving the ball near the penalty area in advance. It is mainly used to defend the inside line with excellent singles ability. However, the forward defense is suitable for those defensive players with flexible feet, physical coordination, and good explosiveness. Danu's confrontation is not as good as Toyoyo Inoue's, but his footsteps are more flexible, and he wants to use this trick to make Yuju unable to catch the ball. End of this chapter. Chapter 15 Too brutal. It's a pity that Yuju's moving speed is not slow. In this respect, he is not inferior to Dainen Gujien. The key point is that his game experience is far richer than that of ordinary high school students. So when Big Kusu started to defend around the front, Yuju immediately moved to the other side. Dainen was taken aback, and wanted to chase Yuju, but Yuju had already started and quickly seized a favorable position. At this time, Ikegami received a pass from a passerby point guard. Seeing Yuju's movement, Ikegami hurriedly threw the ball to the basket. As Yuzu moved, he looked up at the basketball flying towards the hoop. When the basketball was about to approach the basket, Yuju took off with all his strength, grabbed the basketball in midair, and was about to smash the ball into the basket. Pop! Dainen also jumped up, and slapped Yuju's arm with his right hand. Even if he made a foul, he would destroy the ball. Bang dang beep. As a result, Yuju didn't seem to be affected, and completed the dunk against Dainen. So brutal. At the same time, the referee's whistle sounded. The number 8 of the red team fouled, and the number 6 of the white team made an extra penalty. The referee made a verdict, and Yuju not only successfully completed the dunk, but also added a free throw. So strong. This freshman is too strong. Seeing such a scene, both the players and the coach were shocked. Dainen fell to the ground in embarrassment, looking at Yuju who was still clutching the basket. His eyes were dull and he was obviously shocked. He can already be sure that his starting position is gone this season. On the free throw line, Yuzumi slapped the basketball hard twice, aiming and aiming, shooting with the gentlest posture. Bang schwa. The basketball first hit the rim and bounced high. Just when the players wanted to grab the rebound, the falling basketball just passed through the heart. 2+1, done. Wozumi breathed a sigh of relief. His free throws were related to his mid-range shooting value, and his shooting percentage was less than %, which was quite O'Neal's style. But as long as he is given a period of time, he believes that his free throw percentage can go further. After Yuju completed the dunk, the morale of the freshmen had reached its peak. Even if the overall strength of the freshman team is far inferior to that of the senior players, as long as there are fish to live in, this also gives them a chance to win. On the other side, the momentum of the senior team obviously stagnated and morale dropped, especially Dainen Gujien, who is facing Yuju, seems to have not recovered. The game is still going on, and the freshmen can't guard against the senior players who cooperate with each other tacitly, but they can't restrain Yuju either. The scores of the two sides began to stagger, but they never opened up. After a few more minutes, Yuju took the initiative to call a timeout. During the timeout, Yuzu said to Ikegami, "Ikegami, you switch to Yusaku Ozawa. Your physical fitness is better than him, and you have a height advantage. I don't ask you to guard him to death, just reduce his shooting percentage. Just do it." Among the senior players, Yusaku Ozawa has the most outstanding performance. He often plays tricks on his opponents. He is very efficient in singles, and his shooting rate even exceeds %. This is also the main reason why Yuju's offensive efficiency is very high, but the point difference has never been widened. On the other side, senior players are also making arrangements, and their target is Yuju. When the game restarted, the freshman team went on the offensive. Suddenly, Yuju found that the senior players were intentionally or unintentionally blocking his passing route and not giving him a chance to catch the ball. Yuju, who has rich experience in the game, responded quickly. He took the initiative to step forward and set a pick and roll for the passerby point guard, and then rushed to the basket from the other side when the passerby point guard broke through. As a result, the deployment of senior players has naturally changed. Throw it up. At this time, Yuju pointed to the sky. The passerby point guard hurriedly tossed the ball into the air. Yuju took a step forward, took off with all his strength, grabbed the ball with both hands and smashed it towards the basket. Danan, who was still under the basket, did not dare to stop him at all, and subconsciously dodged to the side. Bang! Yuju successfully dunked the ball into the basket and scored 2 points again. Offensive and defensive conversion. After halftime, Matsushita Shujin suddenly found that the player defending Yusaku Ozawa had become Ikegami. Still, he passed the ball to Yusaku Ozawa. After receiving the basketball, Yu Ozawa made a fake shot and rushed towards the basket. However, although Chishan was shaken for a while, he just tiptoed and didn't jump up. Relying on the advantage of speed, Ikegami immediately caught up. He didn't try to steal, but kept fighting with Yusaku Ozawa. Squeak. Just when Yusaku Ozawa was about to enter the paint area, the ear-piercing sound of friction sounded again. Yusaku Ozawa made an emergency stop, followed by another gesture of worshipping Buddha. Chi jumped up subconsciously, but unfortunately, this was another fake move. Yusaku Ozawa took the opportunity to break through. Before Wozumi rushed up, he jumped up and threw the ball with a slight back. Yuzu also jumped up and stretched his arms as hard as he could, but he still couldn't complete the interception. Sigh. The basketball hit the basket. Yusaku Ozawa shouted passionately to boost the morale of his teammates. Yuju shook his head. He tried his best with this shot, but the opponent's hand felt too hot. After completing this difficult goal, the morale of the senior players recovered. However, when it came to the defensive stage, they still couldn't restrain the fish. This time, Yuzumi hit the hook successfully. When they re-attacked, it was still Yusaku Ozawa who defended Ikegami alone. Like last time, Yusaku Ozawa swayed away from Ikegami again, but this time he missed the shot and was grabbed by Wozumi for a defensive rebound. Although it is still difficult for Ikegami to limit Ozawa Yusaku, the latter's physical consumption is obviously greater. Under Ikegami's high-intensity confrontation, the hit rate will inevitably decline. Sure enough, in the following time, although Yusaku Ozawa's scoring efficiency was still considerable, his shooting percentage dropped significantly. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the freshman team gradually gained the upper hand. Everyone, don't panic. We still have a chance. Show our fighting spirit. Don't you want to lose to the freshmen? That would be too embarrassing. Seeing that his teammates were a little flustered, Ozawa Yusaku hurriedly took the lead in encouraging them. In no mood. The senior players shouted in unison, they don't want to lose to the freshman team, it would be a shame for them. They began to use tacit cooperation to easily tear apart the defense and score, and finally stop the decline. However, the freshman team is not inferior, taking advantage of Yuju, can always attract double teams. Yuju passes the ball in general, but his awareness is not bad. Taking advantage of his vision, he can always easily find teammates who are in open positions and let them score. Among them, Ikegami has made 3 three-pointers, and the rest of his teammates have also made more or less gains. In the following time, the two sides fell into a stalemate, and the score did not continue to widen, but the freshman team still maintained a 3 to 5 point advantage. End of this chapter. Chapter 16. However, compared with the senior players, the freshmen who have not undergone intensive training are obviously not as strong as the old students. Fortunately, this team training game only played 20 minutes, otherwise the freshman team would not be able to persist. Even so, with the last 3 minutes of the game, apart from Yuzu and Ikegami, the the status of the other 3 freshmen was obviously affected. Everyone must persevere. As long as we hold on to our advantage, the final victory will be ours. If you think about it, we defeated the veteran team on the first day of joining the team, which is likely to create the history of our Lingnan team. Seeing that his teammates began to slack off, Yuzhu took the initiative to stand up to boost morale. As for whether the Lingnan team has ever had a freshman team counterattack the old team, Yuzhu doesn't know, but he thinks there is a high probability that it hasn't happened. Thinking of making history, the freshman team cheered up again, as if an invisible force had injected into their bodies, making them temporarily forget their fatigue. Ikigami was entangled with Ozawa Yusaku, and so were his teammates, dragging their tired pace, keeping up with their opponents. For a while, the senior players did not run out of opportunities. Matsushita Shujin had to break through forcefully. His explosive power was very strong, and he broke into it all at once. The passerby point guard tried his best to interfere, but his confrontation was not as good as that of Panasonic Shujin, and his speed was not as good. Panasonic Shujin successfully broke through. At the moment of attracting passers-by small forwards to help defend, Matsushita Shujin immediately passed the ball to Sasaki Oribe, who was in the open position. Sasaki Oribe received the basketball and subconsciously took off and shot. At the critical moment, Yuzhu rushed forward, and it was a bloody hat. Just when the basketball was about to cross the bottom line, Ozawa Yu made a flying save and passed the ball to Danu Guma under the basket. Because it was too hasty, the pass was not comfortable, and Danan had to adjust a bit, trying to dunk. It's just that when he jumped up, Yuzhu appeared behind him, and he also jumped up, just hitting a nail plate. Danan staggered to the ground after being hit. If he hadn't held on to the basketball hoop, he might have been knocked to the ground. After grabbing the rebound, Yuzhu saw Ikigami, who was sprinting, and quickly threw the ball over. Due to the save, Yusaku Ozawa has not yet returned to his position, which gave Ikigami a chance to break fast. Not good. Matsushita Shujin hurriedly pursued. His speed was faster than Ikigami. Taking advantage of the gap between Ikigami's catching the ball, he finally caught up and stretched out his hand to steal it. Using his strong body, Ikigami carried the harassment of Matsushita Shujin and forced a 3-step layup. Sigh. Matsushita Shujin was too short and too light, and he was no match for Ikigami in confrontation, so his layup was not interfered much. Here you go. Yuzumi raised his right hand and patted Ikigami, who was back on defense. In this way, the score was pulled back to 5 points, but there was only 1 minute left in the game. The senior team began to accelerate, and Yusaku Ozawa received a pass from Asahi-ken Matsushita. Yusaku Ozawa deserves to be the most capable scoring player among the senior players. This time, he made a fake and real shot. The moment Ikigami retreated, he took off and shot again. Ikigami also jumped up, trying to interfere with Yusaku Ozawa's shooting, but he found that Yusaku Ozawa was getting farther and farther away from him. Fallback jump shot. Looking at the basket that appeared in the field of vision, Yusaku Ozawa threw the basketball in his hand. The corner of his mouth was raised, and the moment the basketball was thrown, he knew it was there. Sigh. Sure enough, the basketball got into the net smoothly and pulled the point difference to 3 points again. Before the freshman team could serve again, Yusaku Ozawa suddenly made a gesture. In the next moment, the senior players immediately entangled their opponents regardless of physical exertion, and Danu ran up to Yuzhu, who was about to serve, and kept waving his arms to interfere. The audience is pressing. The full-court press is to implement a man-to-man defense method in the opponent's half-court. When the opponent's point guard is weak or poor in physical fitness, it is very effective to implement this defense. No matter what position you are in, one defense and one defense are all stared very closely, which is equivalent to close defense, and it usually has a surprise effect when one's own side is disadvantaged. This is an anti-customer-oriented tactic, but the full-court pressing tactic consumes a lot of energy, and it is generally not used unless it is a last resort. However, the Lingnan team has always been good at physical strength and has the basic conditions to implement a full-court press. In addition to close defense, the players also try to block the opponent's passing route as much as possible, and put pressure on the opponent, causing the opponent to make mistakes, so as to launch a fast break and score. Run up for me, do a good off-ball screen. Yuzhu hurriedly yelled. He was very clear about the characteristics of the press and how to break it. Since there is no strong point guard on his side, Yuju can only hope that his teammates can run out of space. Under Yuju's command, the teammates ran quickly. However, they didn't have a tacit understanding at all, and their cooperation was very rusty. When the referee started counting down, they still didn't run out of neutral. In order to avoid a violation of the serve, Wozumi had no choice but to make a fake pass, and then accurately smash the ball at the foot of Danuguma. The basketball rebounded and flew out of bounds. This is normal strategy. Because the basketball goes out of bounds only when it touches the opponent's foot, the ball is still held by the own side. Taking advantage of this gap, Yuju chose to pause again, and quickly told his teammates face to face, hoping that they could hold each other temporarily. Coach Tian-gang clasped his hands and looked at Yuzumi with admiration. Yuju's performance far exceeded his expectations. He felt like a leader and even had the ability to arrange tactics. The game restarted, and Wozumi held the basketball high again, watching his teammates closely. This time, while Danan was interfering with Yuju's serve, he was also constantly on guard to avoid repeating Yuju's old tricks. The teammates began to run and pull desperately, and even set up off-ball screens. Even if the cooperation between them is not tacit enough, they are not facing the king of the mountain. In the end, the passerby shooting guard successfully ran out of the neutral through the off-ball screen. Yuju passed the ball immediately, and the passerby shooting guard successfully received the basketball. But the moment he caught the ball, 3 senior players rushed towards him aggressively, scaring him so much that he squatted down and hugged the basketball subconsciously. During the scramble, the basketball stumbled out of a senior player's crotch. The nearest Ikigami grabbed the basketball and wanted to dribble across half-court. Pop! Ozawa Yusaku had a quick eye and cut to the basketball, but the basketball was snatched by Yuzu again. Seeing Danuguma and Inoue Toyasuke rushing towards him, he hurriedly passed the ball to the passerby small forward. The passerby small forward was trying to hold the ball across half-court, but was blocked again and had to protect the ball. Beep! Before the passerby small forward passed the ball again, the referee's whistle sounded, but it was an 8-second violation for his side. End of this chapter. Chapter 17 Breaking the Backboard. The senior team won the ball. This time, it was still Yusaku Ozawa. His fake moves were too realistic. By the time Ikigami realized it, it was already too late. Sigh. Yu Ozawa made a step back and hit a 3-point jumper. In this way, the point difference between the two sides was evened out, and there were 50 seconds left in the game. Just like before, when Yuzumi was about to serve, the senior team pressed again. Unlike the last time, this time, the freshman barely dribbled the ball past halftime. Yuju has obviously strengthened his running, using off-ball screens and pick-and-rolls to try his best to resolve the pressure of the senior team. Soon, Yuju ran out of opportunity. Danon was blocked by Chishang, and Yuju took the opportunity to put a distance of 2 or 3 meters away from him. The passerby point guard hurriedly passed the ball, and as soon as Wozumi received the basketball at the waist, Yusaku Ozawa and Oribe Sasaki immediately gave up their respective defensive players and rushed towards him. Bang! Facing their double-teaming, Yuzu didn't pass the ball, and sat down lightly. Yusaku Ozawa lost his position directly, and even sat down on the ground. Sasaki Oribe also did not hold the fish, and was easily pushed into the basket by the fish. Toyoyo Inoue subconsciously wanted to rush over, but Wozumi made a realistic passing feint. Toyoyo Inoue hurriedly stopped, and even Ikigami stretched out his hand subconsciously. In an instant, Yuzumi received the ball and hit back again. Sasaki Oribe couldn't hold on any longer and was knocked to the ground directly. Yuzumi turned around, dunked with both hands, and scored 2 points again. With less than half a minute left in the clock, the freshman team gained a 2-point advantage. Defense. Yuju didn't celebrate, and immediately directed his teammates to return to defense. On the edge of the field, Coach Tian-gang showed an expression of approval, and became more and more satisfied with Yuju's performance. Self-discipline, strength, and brains, this is definitely the coach's favorite player. The freshman team obviously struggled and began to try to interfere with the senior players. Seniors want to hit a shot as quickly as possible, or try to shoot a pointer, want to hit overtime or beat a freshman team. They have a physical advantage, and once they play overtime, it will definitely be very unfavorable to the freshman team. Watch out for their 3-pointers. Yuzu reminded that the freshmen began to cling to outside players with shooting ability, not giving them the chance to shoot three-pointers. Soon, with 15 seconds left, Oribe Sasaki ran out of position at a 45 degrees angle outside the three-point line. Asahi Ken Matsushita passed the ball, Oribe Sasaki stretched his body and took off to shoot. The passerby small forward was obviously a step late, but he didn't give up, and immediately reached out to cover Sasaki Oribe's eyes, but he learned how to cover his eyes without a teacher. Bang! Maybe it was because of the blindfold, but the ball was not scored anyway. However, Toyo Inoue pressed Ikigami to grab an offensive rebound and turned around to slam dunk. Pop! Yuzu jumped up like a volleyball hat, and the basketball rushed out of bounds. Ikigami, who was closest to the basketball, immediately rushed out, successfully saved the ball at the last moment, and passed the ball to the passing shooting guard, but he himself fell to the ground. The passerby shooting guard immediately rushed forward with the ball, and the fastest Matsushita Asahi made a gambling steal and finally touched the basketball. The basketball immediately changed its trajectory, and the players closest to it all rushed over. In the chaos, Yu lived in the horn area and grabbed the basketball, and was about to rush towards the basket with big strides. Stop him now! Matsushita Shujin wanted to stop him, but Yuzu sat down on the ground. The tonnage gap between the two was too great. Yuzu quickly rushed into the 3-second zone, thinking of jumping into a slam dunk. Yusaku Ozawa wanted to block subconsciously, and hugged Yu to his back. Even if he made a foul, he had to defend the ball. Drink! Yuzu yelled violently, the veins on his forehead popped up, he jumped up forcefully, and poured the basketball into the hoop with all his strength. Bang dang crash! Accompanied by the extremely strong sound of exploding the basket, the entire transparent backboard was covered with cracks in an instant, and then exploded in an instant, turning into countless tiny crystal fragments, which fell down head-on and face-to-face. Yu grabbed the basket and subconsciously lowered his head and closed his eyes to avoid being hurt by the debris. Yusaku Ozawa, who was still hanging on his back, was obviously taken aback, but he was just blocked by Wozuki's huge body and was not affected by the debris. The transparent fragments fell on the floor with a clatter, and Yuzu felt a sense of joy in his heart. He also dunked the rebound for the first time, which, I have to say, was very rewarding. However, Yuzu knew very well that it would be very difficult to smash the basket again in the future. The reason why he was able to smash the basket this time was that Yu Ozawa made a great effort, otherwise it would be impossible to complete it with Yuzu's current strength and tonnage. Even so, no matter on or off the field, everyone was shocked. It was almost the first time they saw the scene of smashing the basket, which also refreshed their impression of Yuzu. So brutal. Unknowingly, they became more impressed with Yuzu. Yuzu let go of the basket and carefully dropped it on the ground. The sneakers stepped on the debris and made a clicking sound. Ozawa Yusaku hurriedly jumped off Wozumi's back, heaving a sigh of relief. He first looked at the debris all over the floor, and then at Yuzu, unable to hide the shock in his eyes. The same is true for the others. They live around the fish one by one, and look at the basketball hoop with no backboard from time to time, their eyes are full of amazement. Oh my god! It's the first time I've seen the scene of smashing a rebound. I'm sure that Yuzu will be a blockbuster in this year's county competition. Regardless of whether they were freshmen or veterans, they all looked at Yuzu with incredulous eyes. Beep. At this time, the referee's whistle sounded, signaling Yu Ozawa to make a foul, and Yuzumi added a free throw. However, due to the broken backboard, the ground is full of debris, and it will take a lot of time to install a spare backboard. In order to avoid injury to the players, the game had to be forcibly terminated under the signal of Coach Tian Gang. Yusaku Ozawa shook his head and said, "Coach, we lost this match. There are only 3 seconds left in the game." Regardless of whether Yuzu succeeds in adding penalties, with their strength, they cannot erase the point difference in such a short period of time. The rest of the senior players lowered their heads and did not speak, which was regarded as acquiescing. Coach Tian Gang nodded in satisfaction. "I announce that the freshman team will win this intra-team match." "Yeah. We won. Awesome." After Coach Tian Gang made the announcement, the players of the freshman team cheered and began to celebrate. Yuzu is also very happy. No one doesn't like winning, even if it's just an intra-team match. What is certain is that after this inter-team match, his status in the team will be greatly improved. What he didn't know was that after this inter-team match, his name would not only spread in Lingnan High School, but also spread outside the school. No way, the news of the dunking the basket is so explosive. Yuzu wiped his sweat with a towel, and then took the data board from writing Changami, which recorded the field data of each player. End of this chapter. Chapter 18 Friendly Match. 2094-320. If it is 40 minutes, theoretically his data can be doubled. Of course, only in theory. Among the four statistics, in addition to assists, points, rebounds and blocks are the highest among freshman teams. However, Yuzu's score was not the highest in the game. The highest scorer was Yusaku Ozawa. He scored 22 points and made more than % of his shots. This was mainly related to his opponent. At the beginning, his opponent was a passerby shooting guard. After Ikegami switched defenses, Yusaku Ozawa's offensive efficiency finally declined. For the captain of the Lingnan team, Yuzu didn't know how to evaluate him. Ozawa Yusaku's skills are very good, various skills can be said to be at his fingertips, and his offensive awareness is also top-notch. It's a pity that his physical fitness seriously hindered him. In addition to the good resistance and physical strength, the speed and jumping are very average, which directly lowered his overall level. This also makes Yusaku Ozawa more likely to be restricted, and can only be regarded as a pseudo-top shooting guard, otherwise the Lingnan team will not be just the top 8 in the county competition. In addition to Yusaku Ozawa, Wozumi also has a preliminary understanding of other senior players. Needless to say, Inoue Toyoyo, Wozumi had a clear understanding of him. Danu Guma, who lives in the same position as you, is a blue-collar center. His functions overlap with Toyoyo Inoue's and are more flexible, but not as good in confrontation. With the addition of Yuzu, Danan may become a substitute player. Small forward Sasaki Oribe is energetic and has good shooting ability, but his speed is not fast and his defense is average. If Ikegami's three-point shooting rate can go further, there is a chance to replace him. As for the final point guard Matsushita Shujien, he is not a traditional point guard who focuses on organization, but an offensive point guard who focuses on scoring. In this era, Matsushita Shujien can be said to be quite different. His speed is very fast and his playing style is more like Iverson. The defect of Panasonic Asahi Sword is also obvious, that is, height, which is easy to become a defensive loophole. In other words, these 5 players have various flaws and are easily targeted by opponents. But with such a lineup full of flaws, Coach Tian Gang led them to the top 8 of the county competition all the year round, so one can imagine his coaching ability. In Yuzumi's view, Coach Tayanoka is definitely a competent coach, and can even be said to be a very good coach. Although Coach Tayanoka was portrayed as a clown played by Sakuraji in the early stage of the original book, and later became a failure model of tactical failure, but one thing cannot be denied, in terms of the level of coaching players, he is definitely one of the best in SD. Lingnan players have never shown signs of exhaustion, nor have they been crushed by opponents in confrontation. They dare to fight, are full of passion, the players cooperate with each other tacitly, and their stability and mental state are not inferior to other team players. Among them, Wozumi was trained by him from scratch to become the top center in Kanagawa Prefecture of Akagi Takenori. Then there is Xiandao. In the first year of high school, Xiandao was similar to Ruko Akid. He played very independently and was unwilling to share the ball. However, after being coached by Coach Tian Gang for a year, he quickly became comprehensive and has the ability to compete with Mushini for MVP. Strength. Finally, there is Fukuda. Although Coach Tian Gang is very strict, it is also related to Fukuda's temperament. If Fukuda didn't run away, he would not attack high and defend low, and become a defensive loophole for the Lingnan team. As for the other Lingnan players, a little bit. In the end, Coach Tian Gang is still a coach who is willing to take responsibility. In the original book, after the Lingnan team lost a key game, they were interviewed by reporters, and Coach Tian Gang took all the responsibility for the failure. I was the one who made Lingnan lose. All the players in Lingnan are the best players. In this inter-team match, Tian Gang Maoichi roughly saw the level of the freshmen. Except for Yuzu and Qishang, he was not satisfied with the performance of the other 3. He could see that these 3 freshmen hadn't even reached the level of substitutes, and they had to practice hard. However, Tiangang Huachi is still very satisfied. Yuzhu gave him too much surprise, which made him feel like he bought a scratch card, scratched it open, and ended up winning the grand prize. Judging from his many years of coaching experience, Yuzhu now has the level of a top high school center, enough to serve as the core of the team. And Ikigami seems to be just passing by, but he has also shown excellent potential, and the future can be expected. Clap clap. At this time, Coach Tiangang clapped his hands and asked the players to assemble. Looking at the players lined up in a row, Coach Tiangang tried to keep a serious face, and said in a deep voice, "I am not very satisfied with your performance, especially the senior players. Before the start of the county competition, I hope that everyone's strength can be further improved. Don't say that I won't give you a chance. At that time, I will determine the starting lineup according to your state. Do you understand?" "Understand." The players shouted one after another. This is also a consistent feature of the Lingnan team, and they must be shouted with momentum. It's getting late now, so there's no need for training today. By the way, I've arranged a game. We're going to Xiangbei High School on Saturday and have a friendly match with them. Perhaps because Yuzhu's performance exceeded expectations, Coach Tiangang took the initiative to contact Coach Anshi and specially arranged a friendly match. At the same time, Coach Tiangang also wanted to observe the Xiangbei team. He heard that besides Hisashi Mitsui, there is also a big man who is not much shorter than Wozumi who has also joined the Xiangbei team. In addition, the former national coach Anzei is the coach, and the Xiangbei team may become a competitor of the Lingnan team. Of course, Coach Tayanoka also wanted Mitsui Sho to take a good look at the strength of the Lingnan team. He is still not angry that Mitsui Sho chose Xiangbei. Soon, Coach Tiangang dismissed the team. After the players left, Yuzumi and Ikigami spontaneously stayed for extra practice. They have developed a habit, especially Ikigami who has to hit, three-pointers every day. In this intra-team match, Ikigami made 3 three-pointers. He is also an important factor for the freshman team to win the game. Without his pull and three-pointers, no matter how strong Yuzhu is, he will only fail in the end. As a result, Ikigami became more and more eager for three-pointers. Before the start of the county competition, he wanted to raise his three-point shooting rate to a higher level to see if he could get a starting spot. In the next few days, the Lingnan team started Hell-style training, which is also the characteristic of the Lingnan team. Unlike Xiangbei, the Lingnan team still has the habit of early training. There is 1 hour of physical training every morning, and the club time in the afternoon is mainly about teamwork and technology. End of this chapter. Chapter 19 Akiji Haruko. In terms of training intensity, the Lingnan team far exceeds that of Xiangbei, especially the physical training, which may be difficult for beginners to adapt to. In the original book, Wozumi just couldn't stand the physical training, so he had the idea of quitting the team, and was finally persuaded by Coach Tiangang. Now, this scene will naturally not happen again, and Yuzhu no longer needs to kneel on the ground and say, "Coach, I don't want to fight anymore." The frustrating words. This sentence is in stark contrast to Mitsui Sho's, "Coach, I want to play basketball." Coach Tiangang treats all players equally, regardless of whether they are drafted or reserve players, they have to receive the same training every day. This made it difficult for those freshmen, who were not used to such training intensity, and many people quit the basketball team every day. This is also the reason why the number of candidates for the Lingnan team is far inferior to that of Hainan and Xiangyang. Although there are many freshmen who have withdrawn from the team, the strength of the Lingnan team has not declined. Even under high-intensity training, it can be described as steady and rising. By the way, due to the early training, Ikigami's newspaper delivery work had to end without a problem. In order to maintain the intensity of Ikigami's training, Wozumi secretly told Coach Tiangang about the matter and asked him to find a way. Then, Coach Tiangang successfully persuaded the chairman of Lingnan High School. In the end, the school came forward and paid a meal allowance for Ikigami, but it could only last for 1 semester. In the future, if Ikigami does not perform well, the meal allowance will be terminated. Of course, instead of worrying about scarcity but unevenness, Coach Tiangang also applied for meal subsidies for other key players who performed well. In addition, Coach Tian Gang also applied for a batch of new basketball supplies such as sneakers, jerseys, socks, basketball bags, etc. in the name of the team, but only the selected players can enjoy them. Since experiencing that intra-team confrontation, Yuju has been fully recognized by his teammates, including Guma, who is in the same position as him. Even though Yuju took his starting position, Danan didn't complain. On the contrary, he was very happy for Yuju's strength and thought that this year's Lingnan team would have a chance to go further. For the sake of the basketball team, Danan was willing to serve as a substitute without any complaints. This is high school basketball. However, there is one senior player who feels the pressure, and he is Oribe Sasaki. Ikigami was taller, stronger, and better defensive than him. He trained hard, and Sasaki Oribe felt a serious threat. If this is a bad one, maybe the starting position will be taken away by Ikigami. Of course, Sasaki Oribe is not without advantages. He has better shooting, abundant physical strength, rich game experience, and a better understanding with his teammates. With a strong sense of competition, Oribe Sasaki trained harder and stayed for extra training every day. As long as Ikigami did not leave, he would not leave. For this situation, Coach Tian Gang is naturally happy to see the results. No matter who wins in the end, he will not lose money. However, his eyes are mainly focused on Yuju, to provide Yuju with the best training plan. He is well aware of the flaws of the Lingnan team, which is the lack of players who can score stably at critical moments. Although Yusaku Ozawa is good, due to his physical fitness, his performance at critical moments is not very good. Once he encounters high-intensity defense, his efficiency will be greatly reduced. Top players can change the team at critical moments, rather than being trapped by the team environment. Obviously, Yuzua Ozawa is not a top player, but Yuzu can do it, not to mention he can see Yuzu's progress every day. As for Ozawa Yusaku, it is already difficult to make great progress. In the view of Coach Tian Gang, Yuzu is the future of the Lingnan team. Only when Yuzu is strong can the Lingnan team go further. On the field, Toyoyo Inoue and Fukuma Okusu are helping Yuzu in training. Yuzu's training programs mainly focus on footwork, positioning, defense and backup. Only by integrating these can his strength improve faster. In addition, Yuzu will spend 2 or 3 hours a day exercising to further improve his physical fitness and enhance his deterrent power. In order to quickly improve the tacit understanding and teamwork of the players, Coach Tian Gang will arrange an intra-team match every 2 days. The difference is that Coach Tian Gang did not divide the teams into freshmen and veterans, but conducted group confrontations in a random situation and recorded the status of each player. Time flies, and soon, Saturday is here. This day is also the day for the friendly match between Lingnan and Xiangbei. Lingnan is relatively far from Xiangbei High School. In the original book, the Xiangbei team arrived at Lingnan by tram. Of course, other means of transportation can also be used, such as the little donkeys ridden by the Sakuraji Legion. Well, the picture of being overtaken by a child on a bicycle is really beautiful. The Lingnan team did not take the tram, but took the school bus to Xiangbei High School. This is also the benefit of being a private high school. In less than an hour, I finally arrived at Xiangbei High School. It's the first time I've come to Xiangbei, and the area doesn't seem to be smaller than our Lingnan. After stepping into Xiangbei High School, Yusaku Ozawa couldn't help sighing. Toyoyo Inoue looked around for a while, and then said, "It's just that the facilities in the school are a little worse. Compared with Lingnan, the facilities in Xiangbei are indeed a bit older. I don't know how the quality of girls in Xiangbei is. It's a pity, today is a weekend." Matsushita Shujin's focus has always been on the opposite sex. Suddenly, Oribe Sasaki said, "There are 3 girls behind us, and the one in the middle is very cute." The Lingnan players hurriedly turned their heads. Sure enough, there were indeed 3 girls behind, and the girl in the middle was very pure and lovely. She was wearing a neat yet youthful school uniform, with a friendly smile on her face, and her eyes were as soft as water, strong and bright. Akagi Haruko. At first glance, Yuzu recognized it immediately. Compared with Akagi Haruko 2 years later, the current Akagi Haruko is obviously younger, but still exudes amazing charm. As for the 2 people beside Haruko, they are still Fuji and Matsui. They are still students in No, middle school, and they will wait another 2 years before enrolling in Xianbei. Among them, Fuji seems to have a crush on Sakuragi Hanadao. Of course, this is a matter of the future. When the Lingnan team looked at them, they became visibly nervous. Their attention was mainly focused on Yuzhu. It was not a question of whether he was handsome or not, but that no matter where he was, the 2-meter giant was always able to attract everyone's attention immediately. Akagi Haruko exclaimed, "Wow, it's so tall, it feels taller than my brother. It should be 2 meters, but it's about the same height as my father." It was Matsui who spoke. In SD, when Kawada Mikio appeared on the stage, Matsui once said that Kawada was taller than her father, which meant that her father was probably also a 2-meter giant. When they started talking about Yuzu, the Lingnan team players were also talking about them, but they were all focused on Akagi Haruko. End of this chapter. Chapter 20 Air Relay. If it wasn't for the presence of Coach Tian Gang, someone might not be able to bear it and ran to communicate with Akagi Haruko. "What are you still doing in a daze? Don't let the Xianbei team wait too long." Coach Tian Gang's roar sounded, and the players stopped looking at Haruko Akagi and hurried towards the Xianbei basketball stadium. Coach Tian Gang had been to Xianbei, and he took them to the indoor basketball hall with ease. In Xianbei basketball stadium, a handsome young man wearing glasses is standing at the door. He is Ai's brother Mumu Gongyan. As we all know, there are 2 famous products in northern Hunan, namely whip and sugar. Among them, the whip is Takenori Akagi, and the sugar is Gongyan Mugir. Both Kanabu Mugir and Takenori Akagi are from Kitamura Middle School. In order to exercise his physical fitness, he and Akagi, whom he met for the first time, joined the Kitamura basketball club. However, the boring basic training and arduous physical training made Mugir think of quitting the basketball club for a while, but under the influence of Akagi, he finally stayed. In the last game of Kitamura Middle School, Kitamura lost to Takahashi Middle School 36-42. Finally, Mumu felt that he had fallen in love with basketball deeply, so he decided to dominate the country with Akagi in high school. Although Mugir Gongyan's physical fitness is average, he is still an excellent player. His basic skills are solid, and he has developed an excellent mid-range and long-range shooting. In the original book, he is an indispensable member of the Xianbei basketball team. Of course, the current Mumugong Yenyuan is not so good. Welcome the Lingnan Basketball Club to Xianbei. Gongyan Mugir welcomed everyone into the indoor basketball court very politely. As soon as he stepped into the basketball hall, the pot-bellied Coach Anshi reluctantly stood up from the bench and came to Coach Tian Gang with a smile. Seeing Coach Anshi, Coach Tian Gang bowed respectfully. "Coach Anshi, I'm here to ask you for advice." For Coach Anshi, Coach Tian Gang can be said to be quite admirable, but it is also very complicated. It was because of Coach Anze that Mitsui Sho rejected Coach Tayanoka and resolutely joined the Xianbei team. This was the pain of Coach Tayanoka's life. Fortunately, God bless Lingnan, Yuzhu brought him a huge surprise. Even so, Coach Tian Gang is still a little brooding. If Mitsui Hisashi also joins the Lingnan team, he feels that this year's Lingnan team has a chance to become the champion of the county competition. "Oh hee, Coach Tian Gang, you are still so polite." Coach Anze smiled like a Maitreya Buddha, and shook hands with Coach Tian Gang. Until this time, the Xianbei players suddenly found that their coach seemed to be very remarkable. While the 2 coaches were communicating, the players of the 2 teams were also looking at each other. The first impression of the Xianbei team is that there are so few players, not even more than the number of hands. This is related to the record of the Xianbei team, and it is also related to the lack of effort of Coach Anshi. After Gu Zilong's death, Coach Anshi lost his temper. He changed from a white-haired ghost to a white-haired Buddha, and finally went to Xianbei to become the coach of the basketball team, but he rarely asked about the Xianbei team. At this time, Yuzhu felt a scorching gaze. Yuzhu looked over and found that a player not much shorter than him was staring at him. He is Takenori Akagi. In addition to Akagi Takenori, he also discovered Mitsui Sho. The current Mitsui Sho, who has not shaved short hair yet, looks very elegant, and his eyes are full of confidence. As long as there are these 2 people, even if other people pull their hips, the performance of the Xianbei team will not be bad. Strange, how come Mitsui wasn't injured? Didn't Mitsui start fighting Akagi? Yuzhu wondered, he couldn't be the one who inflamed the butterfly's wings. During this period of time, Yuju has been practicing in seclusion. Even if there is a butterfly effect, it will not affect Xiangbei. Mitsui. A dull voice sounded. Yuzu turned his head to look, and found that Ikigami was staring at Mitsui's show closely. Sparks seemed to appear in his eyes. When Yuzu turned his head, he wanted to understand the reason. The reason is simple. Ikigami graduated from Yokota Middle School. It was not easy for Yokota Middle School to advance to the finals, but at the last moment it was defeated by Takeshi Middle School led by Mitsui Sho. Mitsui Sho's opponent happened to be Ikigami. To put it simply, Ikigami became the background board of Mitsui Sho. On the other side, the Xiangbei team is also looking at the Lingnan team. Chimu, that person is so tall, he seems to be taller than you. Immediately, players from the Xiangbei team landed on Yuju. Well, I hope it's not just fancy but useless. Akagi Takenori said in a low voice. His eyes were fixed on Yuju. His eyes were extremely hot, full of strong fighting spirit. At this time, the captains of both sides took the lead in shaking hands. I am Yusaku Ozawa, the captain of Lingnan team, please give me your advice. I am Matsumoto Toro, the main player of the Xiangbei team, please give me your advice. Unlike a year later, the current Xiangbei team still has several senior players, unlike next year where it is difficult to even make up a starting lineup. During the friendly exchanges between the two sides, the morale of Lingnan players was obviously higher. As the top 8 teams in the county competition last year, they have a strong psychological advantage. Compared with the Lingnan team, the Xiangbei team has failed in the first round for several consecutive years. Even if Mitsui Sho, the MVP of the county junior high school, joined the Xiangbei team this year, there is still an essential gap in the strength of the two teams. In addition to the psychological advantage, there is also a height advantage. In this regard, the Lingnan team is completely above the Xiangbei team. Including Yuju, Lingnan has 3 players with a height of 190 centimeters or more. And what about Xiangbei? Except for Akagi Takenori who is 194 centimeters, the second height is Matsumoto Nuri, who is only 183 centimeters. The rest of the players, including Mitsui Hisashi, are all below 180 centimeters. After a short exchange, the players began to take off their jackets and warm up on the field. Ozawa Yusaku skillfully controlled the basketball, and shouted at Yuzumi, Yusuzu, how about a cooperation? Row. Yuju didn't refuse, and rushed towards the basket with big strides. The next moment, Ozawa Yusaku casually threw the basketball to the basket. During the run, Yuju glanced at the sky, and after taking a big step across the free throw line, he took off with all his strength, with sharp eyesight and quick hands, grabbed the basketball with both hands, and smashed it hard into the basket. Bang! There was a strong sound of exploding the basket, and Yuju dunked with both hands, pulling the basket down an astonishing arc, and the momentum was extremely astonishing. This scene naturally attracted the attention of everyone present. In the stands, Akagi Haruko subconsciously covered her small mouth with her right hand, unable to hide her inner surprise. She has seen her brother Takenori Akagi's gorilla dunk, but the momentum is obviously not as good as Yuju. This inevitably made her a little worried about her brother. After all, Yuzumi's opponent was her brother Takenori Akagi. End of this chapter.